What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new scenario. So this isn't one that was necessarily suggested, it was one I kinda just randomly thought of. Now I know people like Bardock, but earlier I was just sitting there thinking, is there any way to introduce him into the story without having him be with Goku in the first place? Because the popular options are have Kakarot raised by him, or he follows Kakarot to Earth. But then I thought of the perfect way for them to meet midway through the story, while also not being ham-fisted Bardock fan service. And this isn't going to be unrealistic either. I am keeping it pretty grounded. It's not like Bardock gets revived randomly for no reason. With that intro out of the way, let's begin What If Goku Met Bardock. The biggest question is, when does this happen? One part of DBZ filler that I forget a lot is the fact that Goku fell down to hell at one point when going to King Kai's planet. So I think this is the perfect place to start. Right after when Goku dies against Raditz, he's going across Snake Way. We'll say here he actually does fall off Snake Way. So that's the first change, and it's not necessarily too crazy because it is something that happened in the anime. The biggest change is who he meets there. So Goku can obviously sense ki. Apparently that's something that not a lot of people are able to do, hence why the Frieza Force, even with its strong fighters, relied on scouters. When Goku lands in hell, he fumbles around a bit, trying to figure out some way to actually get back. He senses a really strong power, and with Goku being Goku, he decides to check it out. He's gonna watch from a distance though because he doesn't really know what he's getting into. But the power doesn't feel particularly evil, which is weird because he's in hell. As far as he knows, a few people in hell did get to keep their bodies. Most of them have their souls cleansed and reincarnated, but like in Goku's case, he kept his body and he's still himself. So maybe there are some people in hell that actually get to do the same, although they're not going to have the benefits of heaven. And once he gets over to where that power is, he finds some guy that looks sort of familiar. He can't really quite put his finger on it though. The guy can't sense Goku, but he hears him approaching and assumes a battle stance. But then he stops in his tracks with a really surprised face. Oh, Goku couldn't really tell from behind, but now seeing this guy's face, it's like he's looking in a mirror, except the guy has a scar. Why do they look the same? And he also looks down and sees this guy has a tail, and he's wearing some really weird armor that kind of reminds him of what Raditz had. Goku asks if he's a Saiyan by chance, and he says he obviously is, but the man still can't believe himself. Is that Kakarot he's looking at? Goku's a little taken aback, but yeah, apparently he is Kakarot. He goes by Goku now, but according to his brother, that's what he was called. So he actually did get to meet Raditz. Weird, seems this guy knows Raditz. Well yeah, he met Raditz, but the two kind of killed each other. And that's why he's here, but he sees Raditz nowhere around. Great. The two of them finally reunited, but of course, they just ended up dying in the process. The man says he hopes to see Raditz soon, but not many people really get to keep their bodies around here. He's kind of an exception, especially with the Saiyans. So Goku asks outright. He puts two and two together. I mean, they look pretty similar, which could be just a coincidence, but the fact that he knows Raditz makes him wonder. Are they related? The man can't tell if he's joking or not. His name's Bardock. Doesn't Kakarot remember? No, he lost all of his memories. Raditz had the same reaction, expecting him to know who he was. Well yeah, they're related. He's Goku's father. So you might be wondering, why is Bardock here in hell? He's a good guy, isn't he? Not exactly. I feel like he still would end up going to hell, but he'd probably have some sort of exception where, instead of losing his body and getting completely cleansed, he'd at least have this for trying to change his ways later on. And for the purpose of the story, even though I'm using Z Bardock's design, this Bardock went through everything that the minus Bardock went through. Anyways, Bardock still did kill a ton of people in his life and only did good things later on. Like, for example, him saving Granola, that was right after coming to the planet to actually destroy everything. And then after that, really the only good things he did were sending Kakarot away and trying to fight against Frieza. Before that, he was still a genocidal maniac like the rest of the Saiyans. In one of the video games though, he actually does end up in hell instead of heaven, and nowhere else really confirms what happened to him. But in that game at least, he did get to keep his body while he was in hell. So here's how I'm kind of making it work here. In this scenario, Bardock's essentially in purgatory. Not literally, but in the sense that he gets to keep his body, and he could eventually make it to heaven, but for now he's gonna have to stay in hell. Basically, he's just in timeout right now for however long the gods deem fit. And this is what he tells Goku. After he died, he went here. There's not many other Saiyans here as far as he knows. He assumes most of them just got completely cleansed and reincarnated into something else, and he kinda hopes that isn't what happened with Raditz. Maybe he kept his body, but it's hard to find people here. Hell's a big place, and they're used to using scouters, so they can't just sense ki. He hasn't even found Gine either, and Bardock assumes she's gonna be here too. You might think she at least is spared from it, but no. She was part of Bardock's squad before. She's definitely got a kill count, even though she looks like she doesn't. This is more sensible because Goku was in Otherworld for a really long time in the main story, and if Bardock actually went to heaven, he probably would have met him during those 7 years at least. Like, I think a Saiyan there would be a big deal, especially two Saiyans being there, with them both looking the same. Anyways, Bardock also learns of Goku's history, so Goku explains everything that happened, and why he's also called Goku now. He doesn't really remember much about the Saiyans, and thankfully, Bardock's not really getting on his case about it like Raditz was. And with Goku being Goku, sensing this guy's great power, he wants to fight him. Bardock's not going to turn it down. The two briefly battle, and Bardock easily defeats Goku. He is surprised Kakarot beat Raditz. He's stronger than he expected because Kakarot was born with a really low power level. So he's definitely gotten stronger. But Goku says he didn't really defeat Raditz alone, and the reason they both actually died is because Goku had to hold him down for someone else to kill them. Although, he says Gohan did some good damage. With Bardock pretty surprised to learn he has a grandson too, a hybrid Saiyan at that. Plus, he learns Goku isn't supposed to be in hell. He accidentally ended up here. Well, that explains why he kept his body. It seems like he's not a regular Saiyan by any means. But the most interesting thing is that he plans to fight Vegeta and Nappa in a year. And apparently he's not supposed to be dead for long. It looks like he's eventually going to be revived. And Bardock actually does know about the Dragon Balls, based on his encounter on planet Cereal. It was nice beating him, but Goku asks if Bardock could help get him back up to heaven because he needs to grow strong enough to defeat Vegeta and Nappa. Every second counts. And Bardock doesn't really know if he's going to be able to do that. Last he checked, Vegeta was really powerful and so was Nappa. At his current strength, Bardock could probably defeat Nappa, but he's not really sure about Vegeta. For reference, when Bardock died, his power level was around 10,000. I don't imagine he would have grown much stronger in Hell. Like, he doesn't really have anything better to do, so he probably was training, but he doesn't have great resources, it probably wasn't as serious, and it's not like he's training with anyone or fighting anyone. We'll just say he's around 15,000 right now. Not that it really matters. But anyways, his estimate of Goku is that he's not going to be able to fight Vegeta as he is right now. Hopefully this King Kai guy, or whoever he is, he could actually whip him into shape. And he does have an idea of how to get Goku back up to Snake Way. Goku isn't really too worried about learning about the rest of his family, but he is interested in Bardock due to his power. It's a shame his brother turned out so different because his father doesn't seem like too bad of a person, at least in comparison. Bardock says Hell's a big place. Raditz might be here too, and he guesses Guinea is as well. But without a scouter, there's no chance of him finding her. So how did Kakarot find him? Was it by chance? No, he actually tells him about Ki, but he doesn't really have time to teach him about it. Goku says goodbye and goes back up to Snake Way, with King Kai still waiting for him. And while he was waiting, he did look for Goku out of curiosity, locating him in Hell. Seeing that he met Bardock in Hell. King Kai has actually heard of Bardock because he's one of the few Saiyans that was given a chance at redemption. He's also quite powerful by Saiyan standards, but he keeps his eye on Goku. He definitely seems like a really interesting case as well. Goku makes it to King Kai's planet alone, and he trains like normal, but he does plan on seeing Bardock again. He's not really sure when, but he asks King Kai. When he leaves, he should give Bardock a shot at training here. And King Kai's not really sure because there's no reason to really train him, but maybe it'll let him see if he's worthy of coming to heaven. He'll consider it. So why not revive Bardock alongside him? They could just make a wish to revive two of them at once, right? Not exactly. Shenron can revive multiple people at once, but first off, there wouldn't really be a way to phrase this without saying revive Goku and Bardock. The reason this wouldn't work is because if Shenron's reviving more than one person, they can't have been dead for over a year. Now, if it's one person that's been dead for over a year, that's fine. It's kind of a weird stipulation, but it also would prevent Bardock from being revived here because this means they can't bring back both together. So technically he can be revived by Shenron, just not right now, especially because no one has a reason to revive him, and even if they did, Goku's the priority to bring back. So everything with King Kai's training went normal, and same for the battle on Earth. Goku goes back there, and his fight with Nappa and Vegeta is the exact same. After the fact, things start to change a little bit. He tells the others about what he saw in Hell. Krillin's pretty wary of this because, well, he saw Raditz. But Goku says Bardock actually seems to not be as evil as him, which was really weird. He doesn't know why Raditz turned out that way. He didn't get to meet his mother either, and on the topic of Raditz, he actually didn't see him down there. Gohan's pretty surprised to hear this too, especially being kidnapped by Raditz and all. Well, at least his grandfather doesn't seem to be an ass. But Goku only really met him for a bit, so he's not too sure if that's a good estimate of his character. It's just he had a better first impression with him than Raditz because Raditz tried to kill him and kidnap his son. Bardock actually talked to him like a person and sparred with him without trying to kill him. After all, Bardock does show some sort of care for Goku. That's the whole reason he was sent away in the first place. And that did make Bardock really happy. The whole reason Kakarot was sent away was so he could survive on Earth, and even though he died in the process, hey, at least he came back. Now we go on to Namek, and nothing else is really going to change from here on out. Besides some really small interactions, everything in the Saiyan saga went the same. So Namek starts off pretty normally too. At least on Namek itself. When we get to the point of Piccolo being revived, that's when there's a big shift. A wish is made to Porunga to revive Piccolo, but they learn there's actually a stronger warrior on King Kai's planet right now, one who also wants to fight Frieza. It's Bardock. He trained with the dead Z fighters. They all made it to this planet, and King Kai decided that maybe it would be good to have Bardock come here too, just out of curiosity. Which was really weird because they didn't expect to meet him right away. He's actually been training with Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu, as well as Piccolo. Piccolo still is the first one to be revived because they trust him, but it is interesting to note that they have Bardock on standby. Granted, they would need 2 wishes for that still, one to revive him and one to bring him here, so they didn't want to waste 2 wishes on someone they barely know. The Namek arc continues like normal. The only difference is Piccolo would probably be marginally stronger because there was an extra person he was training with, but other than that, nothing big changes. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this though. It's not just Goku meets Bardock in Hell then completely forgets about him later on. It's just that there's not really anything that can be done about him right now. Let's fast forward to the fight between Goku and Frieza. Of course, Bardock's stunned to watch his son become the first Super Saiyan. He's been watching everything with King Kai, and his power is incredible. The fact that he fought against the Ginyu Force so easily was insane, even if he did struggle against Ginyu himself. But then he's going toe-to-toe with Frieza, and not just that, he transformed. He became the legend. Vegeta thought he became a Super Saiyan on Namek, but Goku was actually the first one to do so. Kakarot, his low-class son with such a low power level, it was him. He has an insane surge of pride and happiness when seeing this, especially with it being used against Frieza. And in Goku's fight against him, Frieza of course did recognize Goku as looking similar to Bardock, and this came up when they were talking to each other. He's not particularly fond of Bardock, he barely got to know him, but Goku does find it really ironic. It was probably fate that they met because Bardock tried to rebel so long ago but didn't succeed. He's just picking up where his father left off. The rest of their fight goes pretty normally. King Kai urges Goku to not fight Frieza at his full power and just leave, but Goku wants to fight him. He's not going to back down from this, especially because Bardock then asks King Kai to talk to him, with King Kai hoping Bardock can knock some sense into him. But that's not what he does at all. He tells Goku to kick his ass, fight him at his full power. King Kai immediately cuts off the contact because Bardock's just encouraging this, and Goku smirks, even chuckling a bit hearing this. Yep, that was the plan all along. It's good to hear him and his father are on the same page here, but once more, this isn't really going to change anything. The outcome of the fight goes pretty much like normal. Namek's destroyed, Frieza's defeated, and Goku barely escapes with his life, although no one actually knows about that. Bardock expects that Goku's going to come back here eventually, and same for the others still on King Kai's planet. The wishes are made to revive everyone, and that's when they first hear that Goku actually is still alive. But he doesn't want to come back immediately. He asks them to revive all the others first, and while they're at it, revive Bardock too. Those who are still alive are kind of surprised to hear this, but those who are on King Kai's planet aren't too opposed to this. They got to know Bardock over this time, and he's probably kind of a hard ass and also intimidating, but it doesn't seem like it would be a major risk to revive him. Especially if Goku's saying it's fine, it's probably okay. I mean, they did just team up with Piccolo after all, who tried to kill all of them so many years ago. Not to mention, Vegeta's on Earth now with them too. So this wouldn't really be the craziest thing. Although Vegeta's kind of surprised to hear about this because he actually didn't know that Kakarot got to meet his father in Hell. It makes him wonder if Raditz is going to be brought back though. That's going to be really awkward. Hopefully not Nappa either because he doesn't really want to deal with that. King Kai's not really too sure about this plan to revive Bardock because he didn't fully redeem himself yet, and technically he should still be in Hell, which wouldn't prevent a revival. It's just kind of a thing against it because why would you revive someone from Hell? Like, it would be really stupid to revive someone from Hell as an ally, right? Right? But King Kai doesn't control the Dragon Balls at the end of the day, so they could do whatever they want. Plus, he's gotten to know Bardock, so he guesses it's not really a big deal. He continues training with King Kai. All the others are revived first, with Bardock being the final one to be revived. But right after Bardock's revived and then brought to Earth, he then realizes, oh crap. He should have asked about Guinea too, and Raditz for that matter, but it would be kinda hard to get him to reconcile with Goku. They'll have to deal with that later. For now, he awaits Goku's return, and he'll figure out something else in the meantime. It is going to be pretty awkward here on Earth because no one really knows him that well besides the people who train with him on King Kai's planet, and Vegeta of all people's here too. Immediately after being revived, the first person that wants to talk to Bardock is Vegeta. He has a lot of questions because first of all, it's another Saiyan being revived, and second, it's pretty clearly someone related to Kakarot and, by extension, Raditz. Why is he coming back all of a sudden? How does Kakarot remember him? Doesn't he forget all of his past? And yeah, he still does forget everything, but Bardock explains what happened. And Vegeta being Vegeta, he'd probably try and fight Bardock here. Vegeta did get pretty strong on Namek, especially towards the latter part. So as the fight begins, it's pretty clear he has an upper hand against Bardock. Not to mention he's trained a bit on Earth too. But Bardock had months with King Kai. Some of it was spent with training partners, some alone. But still, he was training there. The 10 times gravity wouldn't really benefit him because, well, he had that on planet Vegeta. But the training went really well though, and Bardock has one way to close the gap. He powers up and a red aura surrounds him, as he shouts Kaioken. He can't do it up to times 20 like Goku right now. He can mostly use times 5, and if he really wants to push it, he can go to times 10. But still, that allows him to get the edge. And Vegeta immediately recognized that. They both know the same technique. He's not sure how they learned that. Anyways, Bardock thanks everyone for reviving him. He did meet some of them on King Kai's planet, and he understands it's kind of weird. Goku randomly reviving his long-lost father, especially after what happened with Raditz. And not to mention, Goku's not even here at the moment. But saying that gets him thinking, Raditz. He should probably try and revive him soon, right? And Guinea too, definitely. Raditz may need some extra time to chill. It's not going to be that straightforward. Everyone else isn't really too sure about Raditz because even though Bardock seems pretty okay, I mean, most of them saw and heard what happened with Raditz. Especially Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo. Guinea, they know nothing about though, but Bardock assures them that she's fine. Although another interesting thing for Bardock is that he gets to meet his grandson for the first time. Gohan's a little hesitant to meet him after what happened with his uncle, and Bardock's not going to be the nicest guy. Like, sure, he's not evil here, but he's still a Saiyan, and he's not really developed. But he at least shows some sort of care for his family, and he might not be some extroverted, lovable guy, but still, I think he'd handle this well. So, Gohan kinda warms up to him a bit. It's still weird, though. He eventually meets Chi-Chi and Ox King as well. Chi-Chi likes him right from the get-go because he looks just like Goku, so that's a good impression. Although she scolds him for what happened to Raditz. Why'd he raise a son like that? And pretty quickly, Bardock can clearly see why Goku married Chi-Chi. Saiyans love a strong woman, after all. Some more time passes. A strong power approaches Earth, and many of the fighters there can recognize it. And even those who don't immediately recognize it as Frieza, they'll put 2 and 2 together and realize it's a really strong evil presence. It's Frieza. Mecha Frieza to be exact, as well as King Cold. No one shows up to help them, so it looks like they're going to have to try and fight Frieza here, which seems nearly impossible. Frieza fixes his eyes on the group and sees that everyone's here besides Goku. But there's another face there who he recognizes, although it's someone who shouldn't be here. Is that the Saiyan who rebelled against him? That makes no sense. He was dead. Frieza was the one to kill him after all. How strange. He guesses they revived him with the Dragon Balls, but why now after all this time? Whatever, no point in questioning it. But as Frieza steps up to fight, somebody then tackles him out of the way. A golden light flies across the battlefield, and everyone feels a ridiculously strong power. King Cold looks on confused, but then someone else attacks him too. and this attacker they get a good look at. He's someone they don't recognize, but he also seems to be a Super Saiyan. The fight with Frieza goes really fast though, and whoever's fighting him finishes him off really quickly. But they hear the last thing Frieza says. He screams, "How is he alive too?" And they watch as a purple blast decimates him. The other younger warrior kills King Cold with a sword, much more common, and he then approaches the group, with the other guy powering down, and once that first guy powers down, they feel like they kind of recognize him. The younger one doesn't say who he is, but the older one steps up. He's tall, scarred, missing an eye, has a beard and some pretty long hair. But the smoking gun is when he looks at Bardock and first says, "Hello, father." It's a much different looking Raditz. Yep, I'm using biker Raditz here again. I feel like I get 1 or 2 of these per year, right? Is that fair? I know there's another Raditz scenario running right now, so this at least makes them a bit distinct. And if it wasn't obvious, the other one is future Trunks, but he doesn't really say much about himself. So there's definitely a lot to be caught up on. In the future, Bardock got around to reviving Gine and Raditz at some point. However, things didn't really go so well. Goku eventually died from the heart virus, and following this, Bardock took it upon himself to train Gohan. He was doing the same for Raditz as well. Unfortunately, even more tragedy struck. The androids arrived. Most of the group couldn't do much against them. Bardock and Gine did join the fight too, but they died as well. Their reunion was pretty short-lived. It wasn't just them. Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Vegeta, Piccolo, all of them died against the androids. Only 2 people escaped, Gohan and Raditz. Raditz did kind of bail, realizing it was hopeless, and being the much weaker one of the group. Considering he wasn't really alive long, he knew he didn't stand much of a chance, and even though he wouldn't have done much here, he felt cowardly for leaving. He beat himself up over it, and the worst part was, no one knew what to do against the androids. It was just him, Gohan, and a baby Trunks. By the way, most of the Trunks stuff is left out because they don't want to reveal his identity right away, at least not until Goku's here. Gohan wasn't also really fond of being around Raditz, but Raditz had to take it upon himself to train Gohan, which Gohan didn't really like, considering the whole kidnapping thing and all, and not to mention the fact that Gohan was already above Raditz. But Raditz at least was more knowledgeable as a warrior, so they had to do this, along with the fact that neither of them had another training partner. Eventually, Trunks got old enough to fight too, and Gohan mostly trained him, but Raditz helped a lot with that. And despite the terrible circumstances, Raditz and Gohan eventually did end up bonding a bit, growing stronger and stronger until at one point, Gohan and Raditz both had Super Saiyan for themselves. Still, it wasn't enough for the androids, but they were making progress. If they planned an attack perfectly, they'd be able to make it out of here. In their various fights, Gohan ended up losing an arm against the androids and getting scarred, and Raditz lost an eye during combat, also getting scarred up as well. But then their final battle arrived. The 3 of them fought the androids together and did pretty well. Trunks even had Super Saiyan by this point, having just recently gotten it, but the androids still got the upper hand. First, they were able to target Trunks, knocking him out of the battle, which prompted Gohan to protect him, and then 17 and 18 ganged up on Gohan, killing him while he tried to protect Trunks. Raditz was still conscious nearby, but pretty beat up, and he watched as Gohan died in front of him. First, the androids killed his parents after just getting brought back. Not that he really cared for them at that point, but still. Even though he got a second chance at life, everything was taken from him right away. And now, one of the few things in his life that he did grow to like, Gohan, he's been taken too. This pushed Raditz over the edge, and he transformed beyond Super Saiyan, going Super Saiyan 2 for the first time. With this power, he ended up killing Android 18, but he ran out of steam pretty quickly, especially with the fact that he was already injured. But thankfully, this gave him some time to escape, picking up Trunks as he left. Trunks didn't witness any of it, but Raditz had to break the news to him after that Gohan died, and the 2 of them would do anything in their power to stop the remaining android. Thankfully, with Raditz's new power-up, he kinda just needed to rest a bit. 17 went on a rampage afterwards, trying to draw them out, which made it pretty easy to find him. The 2 Saiyans ambushed 17 and killed him. So, the androids in the future were defeated, but most of the people are still dead. This is an effort to rewrite the past. And Raditz powers up in front of everyone, showing off Super Saiyan 2, saying this is a level beyond Super Saiyan. He knows most of them probably don't even have a Super Saiyan yet. Kakarot should be the only one to have it by this point. And then he pulls Bardock aside, asking if Kakarot knows that he plans to revive him. Bardock says Goku's still not back yet, which Raditz finds kinda weird because he was the one to fight Mecha Frieza before. He should be here by now. So they sit around waiting, and eventually Goku arrives back from Yardrat. Pretty surprised to hear about the time travelers. Trunks tells him who he is. And of course he knows Raditz, but this is really weird. He doesn't know how to feel even if it is a different Raditz. After threatening his friends and kidnapping Gohan, then causing his death and sending the Saiyans here, he's not just gonna instantly forgive him right away. But on the other hand, he did kind of forgive Vegeta after all too. Raditz says he gave Kakarot a hard time in the future as well, and he knows the 2 of them won't see eye to eye right away. He chuckles when saying this. Get it? Eye to eye, because he's missing one? Anyways, as Raditz talks to him and his father, he says maybe they could all have a second chance here. Wouldn't that be nice? Bardock seemed to like Earth by the time Raditz was revived, and Raditz didn't realize what he lost until it was gone. He may have gotten a second chance at life, but not the same life his brother got to experience on Earth, and not a second chance at family. All his years in the future taught him how great that was. And it's not going to happen overnight for Raditz here, but he tells them once Raditz comes back here, give him a chance. He and Trunks look over at Gohan as well. Raditz actually didn't really talk to Gohan much during this encounter because he knows Gohan's probably scared of him right now. Or maybe he wants to kill him. Either way, both extreme reactions he doesn't want to provoke. And Trunks can't really reveal his identity besides to Goku and also Bardock because Raditz says it's fine. although Piccolo overhears everything too. They return to the future and say they will be back. Goku then catches up with everyone, including Bardock. He explains where he was, and he was on some planet called the Yardrat, where he also learned to teleport. And Bardock explains what he's been up to as well, so Goku gets to hear what happened with him. It's cool to have him back here. Again, it's not like they instantly have a bond together because they do barely know each other, but hey, crazier things have happened. He's friends with Piccolo now, who not only tried to kill him before, but actually did kill him. So, if he could grow close with Piccolo, he could do so with his own father. And Vegeta's really annoyed by this all. Really? Raditz became a Super Saiyan before him? And Gohan too, as well as that random kid that showed up? Not just that, but Raditz went beyond Super Saiyan as well. And from the sound of it, he didn't even go Super Saiyan in the future in general, he just died against the androids. Vegeta thinks he must be really pathetic to do that. So, in a fit of anger, he decides to leave Earth in order to train himself. He'll find a way to go Super Saiyan, and not just that, he'll go beyond it. He'll become a Super Saiyan 2 before anybody else. But of course on Earth, another few things have to be done. Training for the androids begins. Bardock makes a wish to revive Raditz first. He did plan on reviving Guinea first because, well, that's his wife, and she would have had a better time here on Earth right away, but he goes with this because he knows Raditz will need more time to adapt. Raditz arrives back at the spot where he died, and Goku teleports over there with Bardock. Raditz is left really confused. Why is he back here? And not just that, Kakarot's back too. He should have died. The weirdest part is his father's here. He has a lot of questions, and he's not really in the best mood. It was better to bring him back first as the stronger warrior, and so they can get ahead of his issues with Goku. Of course, Raditz immediately tries to pick a fight with Goku, but with a single finger he defeats Raditz. They try and give him a rundown on the situation, as well as why he's revived, but he doesn't really believe any of it. This all sounds like nonsense, which kind of makes sense because it's a lot at once. But the thing that kind of gets Raditz to calm down is the fact that he learns, first of all, his brother became a Super Saiyan, so there's no way he's going to do anything against him. But on top of that, if Raditz follows along, apparently he'll become a Super Saiyan too because the future version of him did. Okay, well, maybe now he'll listen. It's very hard to believe, but fine, he'll go along with it. Although he's pretty pissed off to learn Vegeta's here too. He thought he finally escaped him in hell, but no. Well, Bardock says at the very least, he could focus his hate on Vegeta instead of Goku. Bardock is kind of a mediator for the two of them, and they don't get along too well at first, but at least they don't hate each other, and Goku's really trying to make an effort here. Not to mention, Raditz is really far behind. When he died, he wasn't really that strong, at least compared to where everyone is now. After a year passes, Guinea then comes back next, and Bardock apologizes for not bringing her back sooner, but she's happy because, first of all, she's back with Bardock, and second of all, her whole family's here. She immediately hugs Goku and Raditz. Raditz does remember her, but Goku doesn't. She's a little saddened to learn Goku doesn't really remember anything, but he's been with the other two for a bit, and he's been told about Guinea at least. And you know, Bardock's pretty happy seeing all this too. At one point he did wish his kids would thrive. He wanted this outcome for them. He didn't picture both of them dying first, let alone against each other. But still, this is a start. And not only do they get to live, but he and his wife do. He always was kind of an oddball, being one of the few Saiyans that actually had a romantic relationship. So it's nice being on Earth where this seems to be the common thing. Goku trains more with the Super Saiyan, and eventually, Bardock's the next one to get Super Saiyan. Vegeta also gets it for himself off-planet while training. Raditz is really far behind. Guinea trains a bit too. She did used to be a warrior before, but it's not really her main focus right now. Based on what happened on planet Vegeta, and her leaving combat, it seems like she's not really cut out for it, so she might train just really casually. Raditz, on the other hand, of course, is going to take this really seriously, especially knowing there's two Super Saiyans in his family, and he has the potential to be one too. Bardock is a bit saddened to know that his second chance at life was cut short in the future, and same for Guinea. He really wants to ensure that doesn't happen here, so he's glad he unlocked Super Saiyan so early. This at least gives them a chance. He can't let that happen, nor can he let Kakarot die after all of this, so he makes sure that Goku takes his medicine right when he exhibits the first sign of the heart virus. He's not going to take any sort of chance here. And finally, a few weeks before the androids arrive, there's one last person to unlock Super Saiyan. It's Gohan. This is actually kind of attributed to Raditz. He remembers that same anger he had fighting him. Granted, Raditz has cooled down by now. He's not a great guy, but at least he's cooperating. But still, Piccolo took advantage of this in Gohan's training. He used that to help Gohan tap into that same anger for Super Saiyan, and Goku didn't even consider that. Oh yeah, he forgot Gohan hates his uncle, or at least hated him back then. Hopefully they can all grow past that, and Gohan used this anger to turn Super Saiyan for the first time. You know, at least Gohan likes his grandparents right now, and Chi-Chi likes them too. Raditz, on the other hand, yeah, he takes some adjusting, especially with Chi-Chi. Goku is surprisingly understanding with him though after what future Raditz said. But the day finally comes. Androids 19 and 20 arrive in a city. They find androids 19 and 20, not realizing they're different androids from the one they're supposed to fight. Goku faces off against android 20, and Bardock faces android 19. These opponents are pretty strong, but with them being in Super Saiyan, they're able to take them on at the moment. Even with their energy absorption, it isn't really too big of a deal for them. They find ways to work around it. But amidst their battles, Vegeta comes back, interrupting one of the fights, specifically Goku's, kinda just to annoy him. He says he's gonna take on this battle, just to show off his power. And Goku had the fight in the bag and knew he was gonna win, so he just humors Vegeta and lets him go at it. But Vegeta actually does impress them. He goes Super Saiyan, taking on Android 20 and killing him. Well, it's not too surprising he got Super Saiyan by now. He was training all that time after all. Simultaneously, Bardock kills Android 19, so both the androids are dead. That should be it, right? And Vegeta looks around him. He knew Kakarot became a Super Saiyan, but he's a little surprised to see Bardock as one as well. And not just that. Gohan wasn't fighting, but he was already transformed, ready to jump in if he was needed. Super Saiyan's having a bargain sale this early on? What's next? Is Raditz going to be a Super Saiyan? Actually, he isn't. Which kind of just ticks him off. But then Vegeta does a double take and realizes, oh yeah, Raditz is here again. It's not the same one from the future, it's actually the one from this timeline who got revived. And Raditz knew to expect Vegeta arriving at some point, but he didn't expect it right now. He wants to confront Vegeta, but it's not like he could really do anything. He's still weaker and not a Super Saiyan either. And Vegeta says Raditz hasn't changed at all. As in, he still seems as weak as he was before. The group waits around for the time travelers to appear, and then Raditz and Trunks come back. First off, everyone now realizes who Trunks is, putting two and two together because of Bulma's kid. But this is the moment present Raditz has been waiting for, meeting his future self. Apparently he's pretty powerful too. And Vegeta's really cocky right now, challenging future Raditz to a fight, but he says now's not the time to battle. He wants to make sure everything's over first. Plus, he has to greet himself. And tells Raditz to not get too demotivated because future Raditz is stronger than Vegeta and has a level beyond his Super Saiyan. If he could do it, his past self can definitely do it too. Raditz likes this guy a lot. Same for his outfit. He might have to ditch the Saiyan armor. Trunks and Raditz hear about the androids being defeated, but then something sounds kind of weird. Bardock mentions the energy absorption wasn't too hard to deal with, and they're confused. What energy absorption? They're not supposed to have that. So then Trunks asks them, the androids they fought, they were two twins. They just looked like regular young adults, right? No, it was an old guy and someone who looked like a doll. They heard the names Androids 19 and 20. Those aren't the two androids they're supposed to fight. It was supposed to be 17 and 18. Well, Goku does mention that during his fight, Android 20 declared himself as Dr. Gero as well. He was seeking out revenge against Goku specifically and gave himself a little name drop there. Well, at least they have a name to work with, and him being called Doctor makes them think that he's probably the one who created the androids in the first place. The issue is, they don't know where the other androids are or if they'll ever be activated. So they go to Bulma for some help, and when she hears the name Gero, she instantly recognizes it. They have to spend a lot of time looking for the lab, especially because they don't have androids 20 or 19 to chase. But she's able to take some spare parts from the remains of Android 19 and reverse engineer a tracker that was inside of him, pointing to the direction of the lab. But of course, there's an issue that they're not aware of. There's another android out there. Cell arrived from another timeline, and while they were trying to figure out where Gero's lab was, Cell already knew where it was. He was trying to figure out where the androids were first, and then came to realize that they never had even been activated, just 20 and 19, which doesn't really make sense to him because, from what he knows, there weren't any androids 20 and 19, just 17 and 18. Those two wouldn't have even mattered to him anyways. The reason he knows this is because there's no news about the androids anywhere, so he just went straight to Gero's lab. And when he got there, it was completely untouched. He looked around a bit trying to figure out what was going on, and then he found 17 and 18 sitting there unactivated. This is perfect. They're left right out in the open for him. First, he absorbs Android 17. There's a massive explosion behind him as the doors knock down. The group arrives and immediately senses the huge power inside the lab. Worried as to what's happening, and when they get in there, they see Cell now having transformed. He's standing next to an empty pod that says 17, near another one that says 18. Thinking quick, future Raditz quickly launched a blast at the Android 18's pod, destroying her. Cell tries to get in front of the blast, but he didn't expect it, so it's already too late. Android 18's been destroyed. Although he's already absorbed 17, so he's semi-perfect. They ask him what he did with Android 17. And Cell says 17's part of him now, but they're going to pay for getting rid of 18. He needed her. Of course, no one has a clue of who Cell is. But Cell laughs a bit, thanking Trunks and Raditz for their time machine. He comes from another timeline, and he's another android created by Gero. He actually came here to absorb 17 and 18, expecting them to be activated, but they weren't. Thankfully, he found both of them here, of course. Although, he doesn't know if he could achieve perfection now. But at least he could take this new power for a test drive in the meantime. Plus, there's all the other resources in the lab around him, and maybe that'll be enough. He could probably figure out a way to engineer perfection on his own. Future Raditz goes Super Saiyan 2, challenging Cell head-on. He's actually able to put up a pretty good fight against Cell, but he also doesn't know what to expect against him. And amidst the battle, Cell does stab him in the side, draining some energy from him too, adding it to his own. But still, they have a pretty huge group around them. Cell weakening Raditz a bit and strengthening himself a bit, that's not going to change the fact that he's outnumbered here. But still, he's really powerful, especially with Android 17 as part of him now. A gaggle of Super Saiyans gets ready to fight him. Goku, Bardock, Trunks, and Gohan join in, with Vegeta kind of standing by on the sidelines watching, because he could help in the fight, but that's not really going to be fun for him. It looks like they have this anyways. Meanwhile, Raditz, Tien, Krillin, and Piccolo look around the lab, and they find some other androids that aren't activated yet, particularly Android 16. So they go around just destroying everything else, just to make sure Cell can't get ahead. They're not too sure if he could even use anything around here, but at the very least, they're getting rid of any potential allies. And Cell fends everyone off at once. Not that this is easy for him, though. Even with none of them having used the Room of Spirit and Time yet, I mean, they're still pretty powerful, particularly Future Raditz even if he's a little bit weakened here. Piccolo backs off a bit and mentally communicates with Gohan, so he joins him too. President Raditz isn't fighting, but as the two of them back off, he kinda chuckles to himself. His side starts aching too. He sees what's going on here. The others continue to fight Cell, and then a beam of light flies by. Gohan and Piccolo perform a Makanko Sappo together, and it's pretty well placed too, going right through Cell's head. Cell then falls to the ground, looking lifeless. But then he laughs and starts to regenerate. That move was pretty powerful, and it wouldn't be a good one to use against him if he didn't have this ability, and he thanks Piccolo for that too. Not to mention, he could pull off the same kind of move, quickly firing his own back at Piccolo. But Gohan and Piccolo dodge it just in time. He has to admit, they are giving him a run for his money. And Cell being Cell, he is still kind of enjoying the fight here, but he doesn't think they're going to be strong enough to take him down, even if Vegeta were to join them, with Vegeta taking personal offense to this and joining the battle right after. But he was right, even with Vegeta's help, still, Cell is able to hold them off. It's still a pretty tough fought battle for him, but they're not going to be able to kill him as it is right now. They need one powerful move to take him down. And Bardock thinks he has an idea. He wants to try out the Spirit Bomb. Given all of his time with King Kai, he actually did learn about this technique, and he tells Goku that he should use it. Goku's surprised to hear that he even knows about it, but yeah, that makes sense. He was with King Kai, and King Kai said that Goku pulled it off. And he completely forgot Bardock was watching everything on Namek too. Bardock did want to learn it for himself, but he didn't have the right heart for it. But he says if they buy Goku enough time, he could charge up a Spirit Bomb, and that should be enough to defeat Cell. He'll try it out. He's not too sure if it'll work against him, especially since Cell knows all their techniques. He probably knows about the Spirit Bomb too. Goku then instant transmissions away. Cell actually doesn't know about instant transmission, so that surprises him. Goku just disappeared out of nowhere. Probably doesn't matter though. Goku teleported high up in the sky above them, starting to charge the Spirit Bomb. Eventually it gets all the energy it needs, and he asks everyone else to lend their energy too. And now it's complete. With the energy in the Spirit Bomb right now, Goku thinks it'll be enough to defeat Cell. So everyone then backs away as the Spirit Bomb is launched, targeting Cell directly. And Cell of course knows about the Spirit Bomb. He's not sure if he could perform it himself, but he's familiar with it. They must be really desperate if they're breaking that out, and he starts pushing it back. Goku's trying his best to push it, and Cell actually has enough power to push it right back towards Goku. As a Super Saiyan, he's not going to be able to handle the Spirit Bomb because he'll have evil in his heart. He'll get affected by it. But at the rate it's getting pushed back towards him, he's going to fall into the Spirit Bomb anyways. And nothing good can come of that, surely. So Goku quickly goes Super Saiyan. The bomb still gets pushed towards him, but something weird happens this time. He feels a huge surge of power in him. The Spirit Bomb keeps getting pushed towards him, but it's growing smaller and smaller. And Goku can feel the energy of it coursing through him. It's overflowing. And it's also not really too pleasant, because as a Super Saiyan with some evil in him, it's probably going to harm him a bit. But then Goku fully absorbs the Spirit Bomb into Super Saiyan, and there's a huge flash of light. Goku's standing there, still in Super Saiyan, but with a weird glow around it. Cell launches a blast at him, but it seems to just bounce off Goku. It doesn't even affect him at all. Goku then screams as his aura flares up, and then he vanishes, teleporting right behind Cell. Goku tries to move all the energy towards his fist, and in that moment, punches Cell right when he teleports next to him. An instant transmission, Spirit Bomb Super Saiyan. The Spirit Bomb goes directly into Cell, and there's a massive explosion. The entire lab, including the part of it with present Cell in it, is destroyed, and everyone's flung away. Goku's unconscious and pretty badly injured from that, but everyone else is relatively fine. That was pretty insane. They didn't expect that to happen. And it especially gets Raditz thinking after watching all of this. He's so far behind. They're all Super Saiyans and all have these crazy techniques. Vegeta's kind of thinking the same thing too. The Spirit Bomb of course was really familiar to him, but last time Kakarot used it, it didn't end up like that. Like, he remembers Gohan being able to bounce it back without any injuries. It must be because of Super Saiyan. A few days pass as everyone heals up. Raditz asks if he could fight his future self, and future Raditz humors this. They both already know the outcome, and Raditz says he knows. He just wants to gauge where he is right now. The two fight in base, and future Raditz is really far ahead of him. But still, he commends Raditz because he's stronger than he should be at this point. He was revived a year earlier after all. Future Raditz then shows Super Saiyan 2 to him again, and one-shots him pretty easily after that, with Raditz still angry at himself for not being able to even catch up to them. But future Raditz says this is good. Use that anger and the feelings of not being strong enough. That's what he could use to turn into his Super Saiyan. Trunks of course was also glad to see Vegeta too, even though he's pretty distant right now. It's kind of a shame they couldn't reverse everything that happened in the future, but the androids are still dealt with in their timeline, and now they learned of Cell, which they wouldn't have known about before, so they can go back to the future and defeat Cell. And it looks like they'll just have to pick up the pieces and keep rebuilding the timeline from there. But at least this past timeline is safe. Goku never died of the heart virus, and no one else died to the androids. And they're at least going to live a good life here. Future Raditz is glad to see his family again too, spending some time with them because he kind of missed this. He really took it for granted while he was alive, and he hopes his past self doesn't do the same thing here. He thanks everyone for their help, especially his father and Kakarot. He says bye to them, and then sticks out a fist, with Goku and Bardock both fist bumping it. And you know, Bardock's pretty happy to see this. Kakarot was the first one to go Super Saiyan, and Raditz was the first one to go beyond Super Saiyan. Looks like he raised some pretty good kids. Well, Raditz says raised is a kind of strong word because Bardock was gone for most of his life. But yeah, his kids are pretty powerful. They all share a laugh. Raditz and Trunks say their farewells to everyone, and they go back to their timeline. So, what happens next? Of course, we enter the time skip right after the Android saga. Goku spent a lot of his time in the past few years training, and it did help him grow closer with Raditz and Bardock, but he gets to enjoy some time off too. Goku's Saiyan family and his Earth family both kind of merged together now. Of course, they're not all living under one roof. Bardock and Guinea have their own place, and Raditz has his own place too. They're not too far from Goku though. Chi-Chi's grown to like Goku's parents, and I feel like by now at least, everyone's kind of warmed up to Raditz. Especially because future Raditz gave him that push and tried to get him to get closer to his family too. Even Gohan's finally grown accepting of it. You know, even though Raditz kidnapped him, they're cool with Vegeta now, and Vegeta tried to kill all of them before. Plus, Piccolo kidnapped him too, so they could all let bygones be bygones. Everyone around them is pretty crazy. Like, look at Goku. The first time he met Bulma, she shot him in the head. And now they're all really close. And finally, after all this time, Raditz is able to get Super Saiyan for himself. That advice from his future self worked out. And the first thing he does is immediately try to test it out against Goku. Sure, his brother Kakarot is stronger than him right now, but now he could actually have a Super Saiyan battle without his brother having to hold back. And Goku doesn't turn down this match. The two of them go to an open area with Bardock and Guinea watching, and they each go Super Saiyan, ascending up into the air and starting to spar. Their parents watch on pretty happily. Again, this isn't really how they expected things to turn out. Kakarot and Raditz got split up, and the first time they met each other, they killed each other. Plus, Bardock and Guinea were dead for a really long time, but now they get a second chance at life, and a second chance at this family. And you know, Earth isn't really that bad. Bardock thought it was kind of weird here at first, but at the same time, he likes the culture here better than Planet Vegeta. It's actually normal to have a family here, and relationships with that family are normal. He and Guinea were an exception before, but now they're part of the rule. And sure, someone like Vegeta might think that everyone's growing soft, but Bardock doesn't care about that. He's still a strong warrior. His sons and grandson are all strong too, and Chi-Chi just had another kid, so their other grandson Goten probably will be strong as well. Either way, they're happy with their life at the moment. One of the first things over this time skip is the fact that Raditz takes on a new attire. Kind of inspired by his future self, but also he kind of just naturally comes to this. And now he sees where his future self got it from. This look really does suit him. But beyond that, what else is happening? Goten's now around, and it makes Bardock wonder how strong he's going to be, because he's seen how strong Gohan is. Also, weirdly enough, Goten also looks exactly like him, just like Goku. Him and Trunks would eventually get Super Saiyan for themselves like normal. But what about the rest of the group? Everyone's working to achieve Super Saiyan 2. Goku's the first to get it, then Bardock, then Gohan, then Vegeta, then Raditz. Raditz is still pretty behind, but isn't too worried about it, and because he has all these other people above him, by extension it kind of helps his training because he learns from them while they had to kind of trial and error things. So he gets all that info from more experienced fighters. Guinea still doesn't fight much, for the same reason she quit Bardock's team, but I feel she probably would train from time to time at least, and maybe even train Goten in the process, just like Chi-Chi did. This way she gets back to her roots, but she's kind of out of fighting for now. Although, I feel she'd get Super Saiyan at some point. Especially because if she ever did want to train, Bardock would be the one to train with her mainly. Speaking of Bardock, by now he's fully adjusted to Earth. He gets a job and a hobby for himself, and same for Raditz and Guinea. Raditz becomes a carpenter, and as his hobby, well, he's a biker, obviously. Bardock on the other hand knows Bulma, of course, and let's say he takes an interest in science, especially after being around Bulma so much. Yep, we're using the Bardock as a brilliant scientist thing here. He takes an interest in that, and he wasn't really too educated on science back on Planet Vegeta, but he can get an education here. Earth seems to be behind in some areas when it comes to technology and travel, so Bardock decides he's interested in that. What if he brought things like Frieza Force tech over here? Of all the bad things about Planet Vegeta and the Frieza Force, at least he could use something from that planet and bring it to Earth through this. That should at least be beneficial in some ways. Guinea would probably be a butcher like normal because that was her occupation on Planet Vegeta anyways, and there's still a huge market for here on Earth. And let's say she's an entrepreneur too, opening her own shop for it. That's a skill that actually carries over to Earth pretty well. Not to mention, that shop helps out the rest of her family too because she can get fresh produce from the Sun family farm, not to mention the best meats around. And she becomes pretty successful with this. The Sun family overall does very well for itself. Guinea's the breadwinner, Raditz has a fulfilling career, Bardock gets educated and also gets highly paid, and Goku, well, he's a farmer still, but at least he has an easy customer to sell to, so he'd probably be more successful than normal here. One weird relationship dynamic is Raditz and Vegeta, because they kind of just don't acknowledge each other at first, but at some point they have to. Raditz also learns of what happened in Nappa because Goku tells him. He never liked that guy either. But it does make him wonder if Vegeta would have done the same thing to him, had he still been alive by the time he went to Earth. And yeah, Vegeta probably would have killed him, but Goku assures Raditz that Vegeta's calmed down a lot. He's changed. And slowly but surely they interact more. They're not going to become best friends or anything, but instead of just awkwardly coexisting, they exchange the occasional word. After all, they did work together for a long time. And it does make Raditz wonder, would Nappa have been a better guy here too if he came to Earth? Would he have adjusted the same way? Nappa would roll in his grave, but he doesn't have a body to roll. And that basically covers everything new over the time skip. Gohan still does go to school like normal, and he'd meet Fidel, and the Saiyan stuff would probably still happen the same way. Of course, Mr. Satan's not the hero of Earth here like normal, but I don't think that's really going to change too much. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the time skip, and now we can get to the World Tournament. Goku's family gets introduced to this because they never participated. Vegeta's not too familiar with it, nor is Raditz, but Bardock and Gine actually do know about it because they spent some time living with Goku's family. And they learned about the tournament through Chi-Chi because they obviously wanted to learn how Goku and Chi-Chi met, so they learned their history and the fact that they got engaged at the World Tournament. Also learning that Kakarot eventually did become the world champion at one point. Just for one tournament, though. And Bardock doesn't really know if that's a high superlative, but apparently on Earth it is. Or at least was. She doesn't really know anymore. They haven't kept up with it. But now's a good time to catch up with it, and maybe start a family tradition. Bardock, Gine, Raditz, and Vegeta all join. This will be great for Vegeta. He'll get to fight the whole family there. Of course, Goku is still his main focus, but Bardock is part of the picture too, and he's pretty powerful, so Vegeta has kept an eye on him. Raditz, he's not really too concerned about, though he is growing at a pretty fast rate. And then there's Gohan, the hybrid Saiyan who's naturally gifted. Now, Vegeta always knew that he had some great potential, but ever since Bardock came to Earth, things have changed, because Goku of course would want to push Gohan a lot, and so would Bardock too. And while he is still getting his great education, in his free time, either his father or his grandfather would want him to train. And little side note, whenever Videl met his family, she basically saw 3 people that look exactly the same, Bardock, Goku, and Goten. Kinda weird, but he must have really strong genes. Anyways, now for the actual tournament to begin. One of the first matches is actually Bardock versus Raditz. A pretty big match. Naturally, Bardock probably would have won this match, if it actually continued, because it gets interrupted midway through. Spopovich and Yamu use this as their opportunity to steal energy. Instead of having one target, they have 2 here, and each of them has an energy collection device. Bardock and Raditz are both in Super Saiyan 2 at the moment. It's kind of a risky maneuver, but it ends up working, mainly because the Kais are there to actually paralyze these 2, which they didn't plan for of course, but Shin and Kibito need them to collect the energy. So Spopovich and Yamu get the energy, and then immediately head off. Kibito goes into the ring to heal the other 2. Bardock is immediately fuming, and so is Raditz, but Raditz has no clue what they're dealing with and doesn't want to attack right away. Bardock almost chases after them, but Shin's able to calm him down and get him to listen. They all learn what's going on, and so does the rest of the group. And now with actual info to work off of, they chase after the other 2. Babidi is waiting patiently for them to arrive, and when they get there, he's pretty surprised. They almost have enough energy. With energy from 2 Super Saiyan 2s, he got about 90% of what he needed, maybe a little more. He still needs that little extra push, but even a brief battle with one of his minions should be enough. Dabra should be able to gather some energy, and if not him, Pui Pui and Yakan would be able to get that final amount. If he really needs to, he could also possess somebody, but he's probably not going to need to do that. Although he does get a good look at the people that he's facing. Bardock, Vegeta, Raditz, they all might be good fits. Bardock and Raditz are fully adjusted to Earth, and Vegeta might have resentment for the same reason he did normally, with Raditz maybe having resentment towards himself for being so weak compared to everyone else. So he could always exploit that if he needs to, but he probably won't need to. Dabra's the first one to fight them. Not really by choice, but because he's the first one they encounter outside. But he doesn't end up killing anyone, or turning anyone to stone for that matter. The second he appears, Raditz is the one to face him. Really mad at the fact that this guy is involved in stealing his energy. In Super Saiyan 2, Raditz puts up a pretty good fight against Dabra, but Bardock was targeted too, so he jumps in, and the 2 of them land the final blow together, killing Dabra. But this gives Babidi the remaining energy that he actually needs, and Babidi watches on with joy as the ticker on Boo's egg goes up and up. And eventually, it hits 100%. He's finally gathered enough energy to revive Boo, and Boo pops out of the egg, finally revived. No one even went into the ship yet, but when they're about to, they sense that ominous presence inside, with Shin and Kibito being mortified. Well, looks like they have no other choice but to just fight Boo together. At least that would be the smart option. It's a bunch of pure Saiyans here, plus Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin. Those 3 are more level-headed, but as for the pure Saiyans, everyone wants to take a chance fighting Boo one-on-one. Raditz steps up first, and immediately gets cooked. Boo just one-shots him away. So then Vegeta steps up, and he does a little better, but it's pretty much the same result. So they each try and fight Boo one-on-one, but nothing works with that. At least Boo's having fun, so he's not getting angry. But after all of them get beat up individually, they decide to just team together. Babidi watches on very happily. There's no way they're going to be able to stop Boo. Although he's a little bit too distracted, and he doesn't realize Piccolo snuck up right behind him, killing Babidi with a single attack. Well, at least they don't have to deal with him now. But Boo's still going to be a big issue, even with everyone fighting together. As they're facing Boo, they slowly get more and more injured, and they lose some of their stamina too. Boo is doing really well, and not to mention, they learn about the fact that he could actually regenerate too, which makes things a lot worse. But still, they have an idea. Maybe they could just kill Boo if they destroy all of him. Even with his crazy regeneration, it looks like he still needs some little piece of him left. Vegeta thinks that if they destroy every bit of Boo completely, there's no way he can regenerate. But that's going to be really tough when they don't have the power to destroy him with just one attack. And even if they did have that, they need to guarantee that every little bit of him is destroyed. And Bardock has one idea. He didn't want to try this, at least not just yet, but they're getting pretty desperate now. The idea he had in mind might not even work, and it might kill him. But he's going to die against Boo anyways, so he might as well try this. Over the past few years, he's been practicing with more than just Super Saiyan. He hasn't forgotten about Kaioken at all, and it got him wondering if Kaioken could be combined with Super Saiyan. After mastering Super Saiyan, he's tried it on a few occasions, but even with Super Saiyan being mastered, it still was pretty stressful on his body. And he's only ever attempted this with Kaioken times 2 and regular Super Saiyan. But theoretically, he could use Kaioken as high as he wants, in Super Saiyan 2 no less. It's not exactly going beyond Super Saiyan 2 in the way they intended, but still, it could maybe help them out here. So he bets everything on that. Bardock asks them all to get an opening, just really quick, and they're able to get a very brief opening for him, just enough for one attack. While in Super Saiyan 2, Bardock activates Kaioken, particularly Kaioken times 10, and he pulls it off, not thinking it would work the first time around. When you think about it, this is stronger than the entire group combined because it's basically like 10 Super Saiyan 2 Bardocks attacking at once. But he can't use it for long, and it takes a huge toll on his body. He thinks he'll only have this one attack. Goku and Raditz have successfully distracted Buu, with Vegeta and Gohan staying back to protect Bardock just in case. Goku and Raditz then quickly jump out of the way as Bardock launches his attack. The beam is incredibly intense. The second it hits Buu, it punctures through him like a hot knife through butter. And then the beam expands out, erasing the rest of Buu. There's not a single trace of him left. And just for good measure, Bardock fires it for a little bit longer right after Buu's destroyed, just to ensure every piece of him is dealt with. And immediately after firing the attack, Bardock collapses, falling to the ground, passing out with his body twitching. He might have actually just died from that attack, but Kibito quickly runs over and heals him. It's a good thing he was there because if he weren't, Bardock actually would have been dead here. Kibito says that his heart seems to have given out. So, while that attack did work, it technically would have killed Bardock in the process. And Bardock's glad that he killed Buu, but he's not going to try Super Saiyan Kaioken like that again, especially not Super Saiyan 2 with Kaioken times 10 on top of it. There's no point winning a battle with it if it ends up killing him. Although, in a life or death situation like that, it was worth it. They all get back to the tournament and learn the tournament continued without them. Mighty Mask actually won the tournament, which ended up being Goten and Trunks. Although, they took the fall against Mr. Satan since he offered a bunch of money, which was kind of weird because Trunks is rich, he doesn't really need the money, but Goten at least kind of did. Mr. Satan doesn't realize that he just bribed 2 kids, but they took it. Plus, they had the Junior Division tournament, with Trunks ending up winning that. So in a way, Trunks won 2 tournaments. Bulma is very happy, and when Vegeta learns of this, he's even prouder. But still, after the fight with Buu, everyone realizes that they still have a long way to go. They still want to ascend Super Saiyan 2, but no one's really sure how to. Sure, Bardock was able to combine it with Kaioken, but that doesn't seem feasible, and that's only for people that know Kaioken, and even then, they're not sure if that'll work long term. They need something that isn't a temporary solution like that. Something that's more reliable and an actual form, if anything. Like, is there a Super Saiyan 3 beyond Super Saiyan 2? A Super Saiyan 4 maybe? Who knows? And everyone's trying to think outside the box. Goku's been training to go beyond, and he feels like he might be on the cusp of getting something beyond Super Saiyan 2, but isn't really too sure. Meanwhile, Bardock and Raditz are trying to reinvent the wheel, starting from scratch. They still have their tails, and Raditz actually had a pretty good idea. What if they were able to combine forms somehow? Like, Bardock combined Super Saiyan and Kaioken, and granted, Kaioken isn't its own form, but still, the principle is there. That's what got Raditz to think that maybe he can combine Super Saiyan with something else, and the only other form he has, besides the various stages of Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2, is Great Ape. So what if you can combine those 2 forms together? He's not exactly sure if that would work. And what would that create? Like a Super Saiyan Great Ape? Will they still be giant in that form? Or would it be like a Super Saiyan manifesting the power of a Great Ape? They're not sure if it's even possible, and if it is, there's only one way to find out what it would look like. They have to try it out. Try and become Great Apes again, and go Super Saiyan on top of that. It's been so long since they've even used the Great Ape form. After getting Super Saiyan, it seemed kind of useless, especially because by the time Raditz got to Earth, everyone had Super Saiyan. He was completely focused on that. But maybe, by tapping into this power, they can get something else. And besides just training further and trying to push more power out of Super Saiyan 2, this is really the only idea they have. So, Bardock and Raditz begin working on that, not even sure if it'll do anything. It turns out, there is a really good way to go beyond Super Saiyan 2. They just don't know it yet. And it's something that's completely different from regular Super Saiyan. Beerus awakens sooner than normal, a year after Buu's defeat actually. Given the amount of Saiyans on Earth and their strength, Oracle Fish told them to awaken at this time because there's more than enough of them for the ritual. It's around now that he's going to fight his rival, so Beerus comes to Earth, still during Bulma's birthday party but just a few years before, and he seeks out the Super Saiyan God here. Unfortunately, none of the Saiyans know about the Super Saiyan God. From what he learns, 2 of these Saiyans are a lot older than the others, Bardock and Guinea, and one of them is Vegeta, who he obviously knows, so he'd expect that maybe one of those 3 would know about it, but no, they know nothing about the Super Saiyan God. Raditz and Bardock were actually trying to go beyond Super Saiyan in another way, but they didn't really make it too far just yet. Although Raditz was actually the first one to discover something brand new, Super Saiyan 3, and thanks to him having a tail, and same for Bardock, they're able to control the form pretty well. Goku and Vegeta also did get it for themselves, and so did Gohan. But it's very new for them, and they don't have tails, so they don't really use it too much. They show this form to Beerus, and it doesn't really do anything. This isn't a true godly rivalry here. So they summon Shenron, asking about the Super Saiyan God, and they learn about the ritual. And even without Videl being pregnant right now, that doesn't matter. They have more than enough Saiyans here. They have 3 more than normal. But who's going to be the target for the ritual? From what Beerus can tell, The fighter who has the strongest base right now is Goku, so he's the one who gets the ritual done on him. And Goku becomes the Super Saiyan God pretty much like normal. The fight happens, and you don't really need me to go into it because Beerus is going to win anyways. Although Beerus is a lot more jolly this time because he still gets to have great food, and no Majin Buu is there to steal his food. And that's pretty much Battle of Gods. It's the same thing, just a few years earlier, and then with Bardock and Raditz being involved. Same for Guinea too, I guess. The only reason it's happening earlier is because there's enough Saiyans here for the ritual. I always assumed the reason Oracle Fish said it would be at that exact time was because that's when Pan was conceived. So she was able to be part of the ritual, but here, they already do have enough Saiyans. And given their strength, I feel like it's pretty reasonable to have this happen a few years earlier. But this also does have other unintended consequences. Since this is only a year after the Buu saga, there still is something else that's about to happen. Sometime after this, Goma pays a visit to Earth with Neva and Degasu. The Dragon Balls still aren't active right now because they were never upgraded. Kami is still the Guardian here, and the last person to use the wish was Goku to ask about the Super Saiyan God. But Neva's able to quickly gather them and reactivate them. And they do this on the lookout, planning to take Kami as a hostage as well. And Kami's no match for any of them. He and Popo realize they probably can't fight back here, but Kami comes up with a quick plan on the fly. He places a hand on Popo, and the two of them teleport somewhere else. Being able to teleport anywhere on Earth is pretty helpful here. He was going to maybe try and destroy Shenron, but he knows if he stayed up on the lookout, that wouldn't have been too easy. Goma's not really too concerned. He already has the Dragon Balls, and he summoned Shenron. But because Shenron can only grant one wish here, Goma has to weigh his options carefully. He could either wish for everyone to get weaker and then try and find the third eye himself, or he could just wish for the third eye up front. Originally that was his plan, that was going to be his second wish, but Shenron didn't give him 3 wishes. So here, since he only has one wish and knows he has one wish, I feel like he'd just go for the third eye right away. He's unsure if it'll work, but Shenron grants it. It shouldn't be too tough, especially since there's multiple third eyes. Not that Goma knows that. Shenron disappears, and a third eye falls from the sky and Goma catches it. Meanwhile, on the surface, Kami's been trying to gather all the other fighters. He's trying to work really quickly, and he's only able to get Goku, Bardock, and Vegeta. They're all together right now, and also ready for a battle. Goku then teleports over to Kami, and then he brings the 3 of them up to the lookout. Shenron's already gone, and they see Degasu pushing something into Goma's head. Neva just watches on the sidelines amused. Then, Goma starts growing in size. He gets larger and larger, and his power increases significantly. He didn't think it would be that easy, but now he has the third eye in his possession. Goma powers up. The lookout snaps in half, and they all fall to the surface below, with Kami and Popo jumping back, staying on the lookout. Neva and Degasu stay up there too and watch from afar. By now, no one's actually went to Beerus' planet just yet, but just enough time has passed for Goku to train with Super Saiyan God, so he's kind of got the hang of it right now. As for Bardock and Vegeta, of course their peaks right now are Super Saiyan 3, but it works better for Bardock thanks to his tail. For Vegeta, it's still potent, but it's going to run out of energy really quickly. They have no clue who this guy is or what his powers are going to be like. All they know is that they just gotta fight him, which sounds like a plan. Vegeta's the first one to step up, and in base alone, he's able to actually fight Goma first, but he continues adapting, growing stronger and stronger, forcing Vegeta to transform, first into Super Saiyan 1, then 2, then 3. And now Vegeta really wants to beat this guy, but they come to see that no matter what they do, he's just going to keep growing. It's pretty obvious that his power comes from whatever that third eye is. Right now, they know absolutely nothing about it. But when they got to the lookout, they saw Goma putting it in his head, so they know that's the source of his power right now. Maybe they could just go right for that. Or maybe it's a Buu situation where they just have to destroy him in one shot. Bardock then tries to battle too, and it's the same result. Goma was worried about these fighters on Earth. They killed Dabura after all, and they also killed Majin Buu. But with the third eye, they're not going to be a threat at all. And they'll also be a pretty good test run for this power. Although, there is one big piece of info that he's missing. He may be adapting enough to get stronger than Bardock and Vegeta. But then Goku steps up to fight. First base, then Super Saiyan, and then Super Saiyan 2. And Goma's not really sure what's going on, but something is strange. The fact that these people can even transform in general is strange. But this guy's using the same forms as the other two, and he's way stronger. Degasu and Neva are watching from above, and they can tell that something's off about this guy. There's something divine about him. He effortlessly fights Goma in Super Saiyan 2, but then some flames surround him. And it almost looks like he de-transforms. His hair is no longer spiky, but now it's red. Goku thinks he has the hang of this now. After watching the other two fight and fighting Goma himself a little bit, he knows what to expect here. He doesn't typically go for the kill right away, but with an opponent like this, he might just have to do that, unless they could find some way to take the third eye. They of course don't know the weakness of the third eye. They could knock it out of his head, but maybe they could just pull it out of his head? The other option is just completely destroy him with the eye, and Goku thinks that his power should be enough to eradicate him quickly. He keeps regenerating during his fights and growing, not just power but size, and they see that they're getting nowhere. And Goku doesn't want to contribute to his power anymore with Super Saiyan God. The gap in strength is huge. But if he spends too long fighting him, maybe Goma will just adapt to this form. So he puts all his energy into one attack. Goku powers up to his maximum. His ki grows larger and larger, and then condenses in on him. With one hand, Goku telekinetically grabs Goma and flings him up in the air. And then, he leaps upwards, with a fist out. All of his ki goes into his fist, and his aura trails behind him, making an almost dragon-like shape. With all of his power into one attack, Goku performs a Dragon Fist, punching right through Goma, with the ki swirling around Goma, completely engulfing him. Vegeta and Bardock get ready to destroy the rest of him, but it looks like Goku's already got it. This attack badly damaged him because Goku flew right through him, but all of Goku's ki surges through Goma and destroys him completely, including the third eye as well. And just like that, Goma's defeated. Degusu watches on panicked and tries to make a quick escape. Never retains a cool demeanor, but he gets ready to leave. By the time the Saiyans get up to the lookout, their ship's already gone. Kami thanks them for their help, and they're not too sure what even just happened. Shin and Kibito eventually come to Earth, hear about what happened, and Shin explains a few more things, especially after hearing Degusu was there. So what does that mean for the Demon Realm? Well, Goma's dead, and Irinsu contemplates making her own Majin to get the Dragon Ball still, but maybe she won't even need that. She might be able to just take the throne herself. Either way, it's not going to be too hard. Glorio never even goes to Earth, and no one on Earth goes to the Demon Realm. Irinsu becomes its new ruler, and that's basically that. Goma going to Earth was actually the worst thing it could have done. He got the third eye, but at what cost? What happens after this? A little bit more time passes, and Beerus eventually returns to Earth at some point, mainly for the food. Thankfully, Goku, Vegeta, and Bardock are able to use this opportunity to go to his planet to train. He already likes Goku because he's the Super Saiyan God, but as for the other two, they have to make some food offerings. Bardock has no clue where Raditz is. The two of them have been waiting for a while, and Raditz is a no-show. What he doesn't know is that Raditz is at some random bar right now, drunk off his ass. He doesn't even realize that Beerus came to Earth. He's too busy enjoying himself. One day he goes to visit his parents and it's just Gine there. He asks where Bardock is, and then Gine just begins scolding him. And he's pretty pissed at himself too. Crap, he missed his one opportunity to catch up to everyone, because he was making good progress, but Goku getting Super Saiyan God put him very far ahead of everyone. They could have just used the ritual on each other, but no one wanted to do that. They wanted to train to get the form, if anything. Even Goku thought the same. And just for an easy power boost, he almost decided to do that, but with everyone else being so prideful, he tried to save face as well. But now he's out of luck. He's stuck here on Earth. Gohan thankfully didn't go either because, well, he had no need to go there. He'd rather stay on Earth. So at least Raditz still has someone to train with, but still. He can't fall further behind than he already is. He thinks of his future self. Being as strong as he was, future Raditz set a good example for him. He needs to be like that version of himself. 2 years pass. Beerus comes back to Earth again, and this time Raditz doesn't miss out. He's been training his ass off, doing everything he can to get stronger. He's no Super Saiyan God, but he's gone beyond Super Saiyan 3. He's finally done exactly what he and Bardock were looking for. Beerus actually did plan on taking Raditz anyways, but he does want to test him out a little bit first. And Raditz shows off the brand new form he has, transforming into something completely unseen. While they were busy with their god forms, Raditz went back to his Saiyan roots. He already has Super Saiyan 3, so you might as well call this Super Saiyan 4. The power of Great Ape and Super Saiyan combined. It's a good thing he had Gohan around so he had someone strong to train with. Gohan doesn't have his tail though, so he couldn't just unlock this as easily as Raditz did. Plus, Raditz basically dragged him into training. Right now, Raditz is the only one with this form. Raditz tries to fight Beerus, but it doesn't really accomplish much. Although, Beerus says that Raditz is the strongest mortal, besides the 3 godly Saiyans of course. So it's impressive that he got that powerful. He's way more impressive than anyone he fought back when he first came to Earth. Although he is kind of far behind. Bardock and Vegeta were able to unlock Super Saiyan God for themselves, but after 2 years with Beerus, all 3 of them have a Super Saiyan Blue of course. And Raditz is also prepared. He brought some alcohol as an offering to Beerus. And Beerus kinda likes this stuff. Sure, he'll bring Raditz along. He already made his mind up of course, but it's a good thing Raditz passed that test too. So now, the 4 Saiyans are on Beerus' planet. Gohan's not training as much as everybody else, but he's still training more than normal, thanks to all the influences around him. Goku being alive this entire time, Bardock being in his life, and then eventually Raditz too. So Earth still has a really strong warrior left behind. More time passes and an old enemy returns. Frieza's revived. The Frieza Force comes to Earth first, and they're not too hard to fight. Piccolo is weaker than normal without Kami fused into him, but still, it's just random Frieza soldiers. Plus, Gine's involved in the battle too. She has Super Saiyan 2 for herself, and the rest of the crew is still pretty strong, so his army's no problem. But Frieza's a bit surprised because he doesn't immediately know who Gohan is, and it takes him a second to realize that he's the hybrid Saiyan that was on Namek. But who's that woman? The fact that there's more Super Saiyans is kind of worrisome, but were there more Saiyans that he forgot about because he doesn't recognize her? Well, maybe it's nothing to worry about, especially with how strong he's grown now. Frieza gets ready to battle, and of course the person to step up to fight him is Gohan. And Gohan's actually gone beyond Super Saiyan 3 himself. It took some thinking outside of the box, especially because he had to figure out some other way to activate Great Ape. Bulma was able to help out with that though, and Gohan was able to get Super Saiyan 4 for himself. On first sight, Frieza just laughs at him. He looks like a monkey, even more so than he did before. Frieza thinks it's some kind of joke, until Gohan punches him straight in the gut. And even in his golden form, his strength's not enough to contend with Gohan right now. Gohan might not have godly ki, but with a form like Super Saiyan 4 combined with Hybrid Saiyan potential, he is really powerful. He is about to defeat Frieza himself, but then someone new appears. Gohan hears someone yell out to him to wait. Goku has teleported in, alongside everyone that was on Beerus' planet. Gohan's ki kind of acted as a beacon, so Goku was able to teleport here pretty quickly. And Gohan didn't need their help, but they came here for another reason. it's because of Frieza being alive. Now, each of them would love to fight Frieza, but there's one person in particular who wants to kill him more than anyone else, Bardock. He was actually the one to request to come to Earth. The second he heard Frieza was back to life, he knew he had to go there. Bardock tells Gohan he did a good job fighting, but he wants to take this from here. And at first Gohan doesn't understand why, but then he remembers. Given all the time around his grandfather, he's heard all the stories about Bardock's life, including his death. So he understands, powering down and letting him step in. Frieza's just completely stunned right now because first of all, he saw that new Saiyan form from Gohan. Second of all, there was another female Saiyan there that he didn't recognize. Third, he was losing really badly. Fourth, he sees Raditz again. But worst of all, he immediately recognized the other Saiyan here. When he saw Goku on Namek, he immediately made the connection that he was related to that Saiyan who rebelled before. But now, he's seeing double. And the other Goku that he's seeing, well, he looks exactly like that Saiyan that tried to fight him. He even has the bandana and the scar. He's alive? Bardock immediately powers up into Super Saiyan Blue. He wanted to do this for so long. No one else even tries to intervene. Bardock wants this for himself, and they let him have it. Bardock completely embarrasses Frieza. Frieza's overcome with so many negative emotions. Fear, anger, confusion, everything. But he's not going to let it end like this. He'll just do what he did before. Destroy this planet and everyone on it. He gets away from Bardock and flies up in the air, charging a supernova quickly. He killed Bardock once, he can kill him again. And this planet will go along with him. Bardock instantly recognizes this move, and he just smirks, charging a final spirit cannon. Frieza throws the supernova down, and with very little effort, Bardock launches his attack, completely engulfing Frieza's own and erasing it. And then Bardock flies through his own beam, landing a punch directly in Frieza's face and then grabbing onto him, turning Frieza's head to look at him. They're looking each other in the eye now, and Frieza can see that Bardock's just happy, elated even. History won't repeat itself. Frieza might be stronger than before, but it's not going to be enough for Bardock. A red glow creeps up around Bardock's feet, and then eventually makes it to his hands. And powered by Kaioken now, he kills Frieza. The others watch on a bit confused because he didn't really need to use Kaioken here. Well, Bardock just wanted to show Frieza his full power before he died. After his experience with Kaioken in Super Saiyan 2, he thought to abandon that power, but they've seen Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken on Beerus' planet. He started training with that, and now Goku's working for the same thing. It might have been overkill, but Bardock wanted to make sure Frieza was completely obliterated. Plus, when sending Frieza back to Hell, he wants to make sure that Frieza would know that he had no chance of beating Bardock at all, even if Bardock held back. Let's fast forward to the Universe 6 tournament. For the team here, it's pretty straightforward. Goku, Raditz, Vegeta, Bardock, and Piccolo. And the tournament's going to be pretty straightforward. Let's put Raditz up first. He fights Potamo, easily defeats him, fights Frost, easily defeats him, fights Magetta, finds out his weakness and defeats him, and then that brings him to Cabba, which would also be a pretty easy fight, but at least this one would be more interesting for him. This is really great for Raditz. He gets to finally show off after all this time. Not that his opponents are particularly strong compared to him or anything. And this makes his head get a little big because next he's up against Hit, and obviously that's not going to go too well for him. Considering Battle of Gods happened earlier and everyone's had way more training than normal, they're all pretty well off here. The whole team's pretty strong. Raditz by now of course has Super Saiyan Blue, and same for everybody else. But that's not enough for Hit. Hit defeats Raditz, and the next person up is actually Vegeta. But Raditz didn't get immediately defeated though. He was in the ring just long enough for Vegeta to watch the fight closely and figure out what Hit was doing. So he uses that to his advantage here. Plus, Vegeta is also very powerful as is. Even just in Super Saiyan Blue alone, he's able to keep up with Hit. But in order to break through time skip, he's going to need a little more than that. Not just strategy, but a little extra power could be nice. Thankfully, he has exactly what he needs here. Raditz's peak right now is Super Saiyan Blue. He's wondering if he could do something with Super Saiyan 4 and Blue maybe, but that's kind of far off. As for Goku and Bardock, they both have Blue Kaioken for themselves. As for Vegeta, he didn't really have anything unique to himself. At least until now. With all the extra time, he's gone beyond Super Saiyan Blue at this point, and he shows it off against Hit. Hit activates his time skip for a counterattack against Vegeta, but Vegeta then suddenly powers up, and it catches Hit off guard. Vegeta's speed dramatically increases and so does his strength, and Vegeta counters Hit's counter. He's grown significantly stronger from this, and he's clearly transformed. This is a new stage of Super Saiyan Blue that only Vegeta has at the moment. It's an evolution of it. Over and over again, he's able to break through Hit's time skip with this. His speed and strength far surpass him, and that lets Vegeta win this battle, knocking Hit clean out of the ring and winning for Universe 7, which means Beerus ends up getting the wish and he makes the same wish as normal, restore Earth in Universe 6. And you guys know who shows up after this arc, so let's go to the future timeline for a bit. We have some extra things to cover. After everything that happened in the present timeline, Raditz and Trunks had returned home, continuing to rebuild Earth. Things have been going pretty well too. They've trained, grown a lot stronger, and at some point there was a big threat on Earth, Majin Buu. At least, he was supposed to be a threat, but they were able to stop him pretty quickly. Shin and Kibito recruited Raditz and Trunks to help against it, and it was pretty easy considering how strong they were. Dabur was no match for them, and as for Babidi, they were able to stop him before Buu was even revived. And following this, the two of them went to the Sacred World of Kai to continue training, growing even stronger than before. They've been trying to go beyond Super Saiyan 2, and they were able to get Super Saiyan 3, but thankfully they found something else on the Sacred World of Kai, the Z-Sword, which was pretty helpful at first, but then it broke. Although that freed Elder Kai, and they learned about the ultimate ritual. Considering these two are the last warriors on Earth and they need to do everything they can to protect it, they ended up getting the ritual for themselves. Both of them now have the ultimate form. But even after getting their potential unlocked, they continue training here, growing with each passing day. And besides the threat of Majin Buu, things have been peaceful ever since the androids have been dealt with. And this will be a pretty great deterrent. With how strong they are, they're probably not going to face any big threats in the future. Anyone that even tries to mess with them won't be able to. They're just so strong by now. And besides, if things get really bad, they can always resort to the time machine again. But right after Buu's defeat, there actually is a threat that appears. After the Universe 6 tournament, Zamasu was of course watching everything, and he was plotting on what to do next. He figured out that mortals were messing with time, and now they're pretending to be gods. It's a huge offense to him. And there's two in particular that caught his eye during the tournament, Raditz and Vegeta. Raditz was using Godly Ki, and he's the same as one of the people that actually time traveled before. As for Vegeta, he's the stronger one and also the father of one of the time travelers. And that leaves Zamasu with a choice. Should he go with Vegeta, who's stronger, or should he go with Raditz, who's the bigger sinner in his eyes? Both are pretty powerful, even with Vegeta having the clear advantage. And I would love to do Raditz Black here, and it would be my first time doing that. But realistically, if Zamasu had stronger choices, he'd probably go for them. Seeing Vegeta's strength would probably make him want to go with Vegeta Black instead. So on the Sacred World of Kai, while Trunks and future Raditz are training, a portal appears in front of them, and a familiar-looking warrior steps through it. The two of them are speechless. In front of them is Vegeta, or at least it looks like Vegeta. Clearly it isn't actually him. Plus, another great thing with him stealing Vegeta's body is that they won't know what's going on. It'll cause more confusion. If it were Raditz, they'd have no qualms about killing him. Here, he can at least terrify them a bit by pretending to be the actual Vegeta, especially Trunks. But they're not stupid. They're able to immediately tell that this is some sort of doppelganger. Trunks is frozen for a bit too, seeing the spitting image of his father there. But Raditz takes the fight for himself. In Vegeta Black's eyes, he doesn't look transformed. Raditz is holding back right now, but he is in his ultimate form, which looks pretty similar to his normal state. But then Vegeta Black feels a huge surge of power from him, and Raditz vanishes from sight. Now, Raditz doesn't go for the kill right away because he does want to figure out what's going on here first. Plus, he wants to confirm this Vegeta's even a threat. They could tell something was off with him, and also, he did threaten them right away. But Raditz starts the fight, and Vegeta Black is woefully disadvantaged here. Also, he's a little unhinged. Whenever Raditz is damaging him, he feels like he's growing from that damage. Plus the anger alongside it. It'll make him grow far stronger than before. And he welcomes it from Raditz, but Raditz continues to show more strength. And then Vegeta Black realizes that he greatly miscalculated things here. He thought the two in the future timeline would be a lot weaker than everyone in the main timeline. But no, both of them are really powerful, using a form that he hasn't even really seen before. It looks like they're not even transformed in the first place, but clearly they're using something special. And these two are pretty no-nonsense, so after fully confirming that Vegeta Black's a threat, Raditz doesn't hesitate. He kills Vegeta Black. Pretty easily, in fact. Shin and Kibito rush over. But as they do, someone lands in front of Shin and stops him, holding a key blade in front of his face. It's Zamasu. He's been watching from afar, and also realized that the plan's already pretty screwed up. He thought the other Zamasu had everything all planned out, but clearly, things weren't going as he planned. But at least he can kill Shin here and get rid of Beerus. But he is pretty desperate now. Although hope's not all lost, he can still complete the Zero Mortals plan. He still does have his immortality after all. He grabs onto Shin and then lunges his arm towards him. But right as it's about to hit, Kibito is able to paralyze his arm. Just very briefly though. Enough for Trunks to then jump in the way and then kick Zamasu. Then fighting him one-on-one. Trunks then yells out because he's not really too sure what to do in this situation, and he asks if he can kill this guy because clearly he seems to be a Supreme Kai. Shin and Kibito know who he is, but they don't know why he's doing this. But Raditz then appears in front of Zamasu, and with a single blast, completely eradicates him. Which kind of freaks Shin and Kibito out a bit because even though he was threatening them, they should have kept him alive. Although something weird happens. He then regenerates from nothing. Raditz asks if that's normal because he's never seen a Kai do that, and Shin says it definitely isn't. Unsure of what to do next, the two restrain Zamasu, with Shin and Kibito helping too. Shin and Kibito also prevent him from teleporting away, and they basically interrogate him. And with Shin being able to read minds, it's not really too hard to figure out why Zamasu's here. But it doesn't matter. They can't kill him. No matter what they do, they can't stop him. The Zero Mortals plan is fully in motion. And Zamasu knows that he's kind of screwed right now anyways, but still, pretends like he has the upper hand here. But then weird enough, a large pillar of light appears. Two other people arrive on the Sacred World of Kai. Elder Kai's hiding nearby because he knew he couldn't handle this, but he starts freaking out when he sees who it is. It's Beerus and Whis. Beerus is pretty tired. He did just wake up. Oracle Fish told him to wake up right now because this is when he'd meet his rival. Something he dreamt of called a Super Saiyan God, and apparently there are Saiyans here on this planet, so why not check it out? And it's a good thing he came now because he sees what's happening. And once he learns everything, especially the fact that Zamasu's trying to kill Shin, who's linked to him, and the fact that he's already killed Gowasu, Beerus has no choice but to step in. Zamasu gets a bit nervous but then remembers he can't die. Even if Beerus tries to destroy him, it won't work. And Beerus doesn't plan on destroying him. He actually got a pretty good idea when he came here because he saw Elder Kai was freed. So, right off the bat, he knows what to do, easily sealing Zamasu away. And now, he's not going to be an issue, as long as they don't break what he's sealed in. Although Beerus is pretty disappointed to find out that there's no Super Saiyan God here. These two have had their potentials unlocked, and he fights them for a bit, and they're pretty powerful by mortal standards, but they're definitely not gods. Looks like Whis is going to have to whip them into shape because he has no other options here. Although he still has other things to do, but he'll come back here in a bit. It has been years since he's been awake after all. So Beerus temporarily leaves, and the whole experience was just really weird. First they got attacked by an alternate Vegeta, then Zamasu showed up trying to kill them, and then Beerus appeared out of nowhere. Concerned about what's happening in the other timelines, Trunks thinks it's maybe best to actually warn them about everything. So he and Raditz go back to the present timeline, letting them know what to expect with Zamasu. Weirdly enough here, Beerus is awake and also on Earth. He's pretty mad to see some time travelers here, but also he learns that these people have time traveled before. Plus, one of them is Raditz. He should scold present Raditz for that, but Raditz says that wasn't his fault. That's his future self. They're two different people. But this ends up working out really well for them because first of all, they warn everyone in the past about Zamasu, and they get to learn about Super Saiyan God, also learning they don't need the ritual for it. Future Raditz fights past Raditz, and he's glad to see the past version of him has grown stronger, and Raditz is pretty happy about this too. They do spend a little bit of time here, but they don't really need to stay for too long. Although it is good for Raditz and Trunks to catch up with everyone again, and learn more about the godly forms that they're supposed to get. So they prevent Zamasu from attacking here, and just as important, they're able to actually impress Beerus now because they know what the Super Saiyan God is. They're not going to be able to do the ritual, but they could train for it. That should still work. So that arc went very differently, but now we move on. The Tournament of Power should be next, but something slipped Bardock's mind for so long and he didn't even remember until now. And he decides to take a brief trip away from Earth. He actually brings Guinea along with him too because it was something he's told her about before. Years ago, on a mission, there was someone he saved, right before he sent Kakarot away to Earth. Two people actually, and just out of curiosity, he wants to know if they're still alive. They take a trip to planet Cereal. Bardock did risk his life in that battle after all. I feel like he would want to know the answer of what happened to Granola. When they arrive on the planet, they step off and see that it's inhabited by completely new people. The planet was sold off after all. They spend some time looking around and it seems like there's no trace of Granola here. Not that Guinea knows what he's looking for, but Bardock's sure that they will be here. And then, he senses someone's ki rise. Far away in a forest, a blast is launched right at him. Bardock quickly puts a hand up, blocking it. And then another one comes to hit Guinea, but she goes Super Saiyan just in time. Although, the beam didn't even hurt that much. Even if she was in base, it probably would have been fine. And Bardock smirks. He is here. They fly towards the forest, and then Granola jumps up in the air, floating up there and yelling down at them while pointing at them, ready to fire more blast off. He asks why two Saiyans are here. Immediately he's alert because last time the Saiyans were here, well, they killed everybody. Of course he'd be like this. And Bardock is a bit surprised, but it makes sense Granola wouldn't remember him. But he chuckles to himself. It's good to see that kid survived. And he asks where the Namekian is. He could explain everything. Granola's a bit taken aback by this because why do they know about Monito? And Bardock says he promises he's not here to attack them. He just wanted to make sure Granola was still alive. Besides, Granola can't defeat them as is anyways. And Granola kind of realized that too. But he's not going to take them to Monito just because of that. Although, there's no need. Monito is a Namekian after all, so he has pretty good hearing. Plus, he can sense the others arrive. So he goes over on his own, and he's very happy to see Bardock's here, which just makes Granola even more confused because it seems like the Saiyan is telling the truth. And Monito explains more to Granola. Monito even still has a scouter from Bardock from all those years ago, which, that's pretty cool. Bardock takes it as a souvenir for himself. They learn that Bardock and Guinea actually did die, but now they're living on a planet called Earth. There are still some other Saiyans alive, including the Prince. And Granola also learns that Frieza died. Twice, actually. One of those times Bardock was the one to kill him. And Monito learns that Bardock's wish panned out. His two kids are still alive. Of course, they both died against each other before, but still, it kinda worked. What's more shocking to Bardock is he learns the Heaters are still alive. And Bardock assumes that Granola doesn't want to work with them. He's only doing it because he has no other choice. And he asks to bring them here. Granola thinks he's crazy, but Bardock assures him that he's way stronger than him, or any of the Heaters for that matter. He'll deal with them himself. Reluctantly, Granola is able to get the Heaters to come there, and immediately they realize something's off because there's two Saiyans there. And they quickly recognize who Bardock is. Guinea goes Super Saiyan, ready to fight Oil and Maki, while Bardock goes right for gas. Alex stands behind watching, curious as to how this will pan out. Guinea defeats her opponents pretty easily, and Bardock even taunts Gas to go into his true form. Bardock's just fighting in base right now, and he was pretty scared to see Guinea transform, and Bardock lets him in on a little secret. He can transform far beyond what Guinea's capable of, and he's way stronger than her too. So Gas unleashes his true power, and Bardock still washes him in base. Alec tries to escape, but it's already too late. The Heaters are defeated that quickly. Granola no longer has to deal with them. He is out of a job, but he can make money other ways. He's glad that they're actually dealt with, because they never really liked each other. And he can't believe what's happening. Bardock coming here in the first place, hearing the story about Bardock saving him, and now Bardock defeating the Heaters just like that. But then another person appears, and he looks just like Bardock. It's Goku. He teleported in after sensing a fight. Just wanted to check to see if they were okay. Bardock and Guinea tell him he can't just do that out of the blue. It's kind of an intrusion of privacy just to teleport wherever he wants. He apologizes, he just thought there was a fight going on and he wanted to join. And Monito sees the result of one of Bardock's wishes right there, Goku. And just by looking at him, he could tell he's just as great of a warrior, if not better. Goku meets Monito and Granola. Confused as to why they went here, but Bardock says he'll explain on the way home. And you know what? If Goku's here anyways, he might as well teleport all of them back. Sure, that's fine. He gets a good look at Granola and says it's nice to meet him. The two put their ship in a capsule, and each put a hand on Goku, who teleports back to Earth as they wave goodbye. The tournament in Power ends up being planned earlier, mainly due to Zeno's boredom. There's not a second Zeno here, so if anything, it's going to happen the second the Super Dragon Balls return, so just about a year out from the Universe 6 tournament. But this also gives universes more time to plan because it's announced a few weeks ahead of time instead of just a few days. So, Universe 7 is now tasked with getting 10 people for the tournament. The first few members are pretty easy. Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan, Raditz, and Bardock were chosen. They've got 6 members right there. Bardock suggests recruiting Guinea. She might be weaker than the rest of the team, but still, she's a good fighter now, and with Super Saiyan 2, she'll be a nice addition. Now they need 3 more. Goku suggests maybe Krillin and Tien, and there's also Goten and Trunks, but they're still not as experienced as everyone else, although Guinea actually vouches for them. She's been training them a lot, particularly when Piccolo and Gohan aren't around, she's their teacher. And it's been like this for a while. First she was just training Goten, and Trunks has joined too, which kind of surprises Vegeta to hear because he didn't even realize she could train people. He is just a bit concerned because she was left out of Bardock's squad. It seemed like she couldn't keep up as a warrior, but Bardock assures Vegeta that's changed. Somehow Earth made her an even better warrior, despite not joining their fights a bunch. Goten and Trunks are recruited, and she promises to keep them in check. Now they need just one more person. It could be Krillin, it could be Tien, but Goku has an idea. He asked Bardock how strong that Granola guy is, because Bardock told him about the abilities that they had as snipers. And Bardock says Granola doesn't seem too powerful, especially in comparison to the rest of the team. Granola never did make his wish here, so right now he's probably just a Saiyan Saga level fighter, maybe a little bit better than that, but otherwise he's not going to be too impressive in comparison to the rest of the team. But Goku thinks he could be an interesting fighter to join, that sniper ability could be useful. So, out of curiosity, Goku wants to go and test his power. The two go to Planet Cereal. Granola's wondering why they're back, and Goku explains what's happening. And he doesn't leave the details out. He tells the truth. The universe is at stake, and they need whoever they can to help with their team. Well, Granola says he's not in love with battle like them, and more importantly, he feels he's not strong enough. Given the stakes, he would help out, but he feels he might be dead weight. So Goku asks to fight him, and Goku fights Granola in base. And he's experienced as a warrior. Given his time under the heaters, he has a lot of experience fighting. Plus, his sniper ability is really interesting. Not just the fact that he can attack from long ranges, but he's good at keeping himself concealed, and of course, targeting vital points is a big thing. And Goku starts to consider this. Krillin and Tien would definitely be stronger options, but Goku asks Granola if he's ever trained. And he has, but not really too consistently. He has a lot of fighting experience, but also a lot of that is just bounty hunter work. And you know, they have more than enough time before the tournament. He wants to actually train Granola, which Bardock's pretty surprised to hear. Same for Granola too. Don't they only have a few weeks to prepare? Well, yeah, but they have a way of getting way more training in within just a single day. Plus, Goku learns that the lifespan of the Cerealians is actually way longer than even a Saiyan's lifespan. Granola's older than Goku, but in terms of Cerealian aging, he's like the equivalent of someone in his early 20s. So, he could spare a year or two in the time chamber. And Goku's fine using that for himself too. It could be a pretty interesting experience. Kami has upgraded the Room of Spirit and Time by now, and Goku goes in with Granola. This allows them to stay in for longer if they want, and Goku hasn't really used it too much here, so it's not like he's significantly eating away at his lifespan or anything. Granola was still kind of hesitant about this too, because, again, he doesn't really love fighting that much, particularly because the Cerealians are a peaceful people, and now that he's not a bounty hunter anymore, he doesn't really have a need to fight. But he always has wondered what his limits were. He did consider wishing for power after all, but he's interested to see where he could truly take himself. In the time chamber he grows pretty quickly. Goku comes to learn that he grows just as quickly as a Saiyan would. If he puts his mind to it, he can become really strong. And over this year in the time chamber, the two of them form a bond, getting to know each other. It's pretty amazing for Granola to see a Saiyan turn out like this. He always thought they were savages, but Goku's the complete opposite. He's a better person than even Granola was. Also, the fact that Goku defeated Frieza, that sits well with Granola. He might not have been the one to get the kill on him, but still, he defeated him originally on Namek, becoming the thing that he feared most. Granola actually does pick up on Godly Ki in the time chamber because all of the time around Goku. When they exit the time chamber, he's still definitely not the strongest member on the team, but thanks to his ability of locating vital points, combined with a little bit of Godly Ki and some really good training, it's going to make him a really potent member of the team, and he meets the rest of the people on Earth, staying here for the next few weeks. Monaido came along too, of course. It's a pretty weird planet to him because, first of all, he sees Vegeta, the prince of the Saiyans, and he's a completely reformed person. Not that he ever knew what Vegeta was like before, but this isn't what he expected. He also learns Bardock has another son, and there's a couple hybrid Saiyans here too. 3 of them are on the team, and then there's also Pan and Bra. There's a whole nother generation of Saiyans he didn't even know about. Plus, there are 2 Namekians on this planet too, Kami and Piccolo. What a weird place. Anyways, after a few weeks, the Tournament of Power begins. The team leader this time is actually Bardock. The reason he's chosen is because, well, he's led a team before. The rest of the Saiyans of course trust his experience. And besides Granola, everyone else has fought alongside him at least once before. But his strategy is pretty weird, way different than what Gohan would have used for a strategy. He knows Saiyans fight best alone, so if anyone wants to team up with each other, they could do that. But he thinks it's better for everyone to fight individually. Regroup with people if needed, but being a Saiyan, he loves fighting alone, and he knows the others do too. So everyone pretty much splits up right away. Granola's a little bit lost by this, but, he's supposed to be a sniper anyways, so maybe it's best he goes alone. As he jumps around the ring, he notices that someone else tries to snipe him. And he kinda laughs at this. Really, another sniper's here. Well, he's already found his first target. Actually, it's two people working together. He defeats Prum pretty easily and then finds Harmira, the sniper. He admits that was a pretty good strategy of them working together, but he's the superior sniper here. He's not going to have any sort of competition like that. He'll move around consistently during the tournament, trying to keep himself concealed and also having a good vantage point. He'll act as a support for people, watching over his teammates and stopping them from being eliminated by sneakier fighters. Like, right off the bat, he finds a fighter who's really small, Damon, the little bug dude that eliminated Piccolo, and he eliminates him right off the bat. He also finds Universe 3's androids and finds easy weak spots for them, inadvertently preventing Aniraza from being born. What about the rest of the team? Gine tries to keep Goten and Trunks in check. They kind of fight alone at first, but she joins them. Piccolo's pretty close by and actually hears them talking with Gine. And he's a little surprised at what he hears. She's very strict as a teacher, even more strict than he was with Gohan. She really whipped them into shape. They listen to her like soldiers listening to a general. Wow, he didn't know she could be that scary. But this is good for Goten and Trunks. It keeps them disciplined. No wonder Piccolo's had an easy time training with them recently. Of course, at some point, Goku's going to want to fight Jiren. Bardock was actually about to do the same too, but instead, he ended up fighting Hit. After seeing him in the Universe X tournament, Bardock wanted to challenge him. He never got to fight him there, and he really wanted to. The two fight for a bit, and it's pretty clear that Bardock's ahead. But amidst their battle, they're watching Goku fight Jiren, and they see how badly he's losing. Goku's in blue Kaioken, and Jiren's barely even trying. He almost defeats Goku, and then, on a whim, Bardock goes in to help, and Hit even joins him too. It's completely unplanned, but the three of them start fighting Jiren together. And they actually almost do eliminate him. Hit's able to freeze Jiren in place, while Goku and Bardock attack him, but by showing off a little bit more power, Jiren prevents the two Saiyans from eliminating him, and then he eliminates Hit. Pretty easily, in fact. And that shows how truly crazy his strength is. Even with the three of them fighting together, he was able to push back. Now, of course, the Saiyans are stronger in this scenario, but just Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken alone isn't going to be enough to defeat him. Jiren was fighting a little bit more seriously here than he was in the original story, but still. Anyways, it gets Bardock wondering, where's Raditz at? He's actually fighting the Universe 6 Saiyans. By now, Raditz actually has Blue Evolution for himself, basically just copying what Vegeta did. He is still the weakest of the four Saiyans, but he's actually close to being on par with all of them now. Even with all that time he lost, he's made great strides recently. And of course he's going to take the chance to fight some other Saiyans. And he basically starts coaching them too, kind of like what Goku did against Caulifla and Kale. He's also fighting Cabba at the same time. But at one point, Caulifla and Kale get pretty desperate and decide to take out the Potara earrings. And just as Kale is about to place hers on, it explodes, and so does Caulifla's. Two blasts fly right past Raditz and hit those earrings head on. He had no clue what the earrings were going to do, but what he does know is that Granola just kind of saved his ass. He looks over to see Granola standing on a pillar, giving a thumbs up, and then jumping away. Caulifla and Kale are pissed off and trying to go after Granola, but Raditz stops them. Cabba goes to chase him down instead. And Raditz commends the two Universe 6 Saiyans, saying they're pretty great fighters, and he asks what those earrings were going to do, learning that it lets them fuse. Alright, yeah, it's probably good Granola shot them. It was pretty fun fighting them, and he hopes to see them again. Not too far away, Gohan and Piccolo are fighting together. Piccolo is weaker here, and Gohan's using Super Saiyan 4 at his peak instead of Ultimate, but I'll say he's around where he was normally in terms of strength. The two fight the Universe 6 Namekians together, and then they're tasked with fighting Dispo and Topo. Vegeta's kinda just doing his own thing. He's a little mad to hear that Raditz actually fought the other three Saiyans and eliminated them, because that was his plan. So he's just fighting a bunch of randoms. He really needs someone to test his power out against. Speaking of Universe 6, Granola sees Frost running around. Now, he doesn't really want to judge him right off the bat, but he keeps an eye on Frost and sees he acts exactly like how he knows Frieza acted. And with a single blast, he sends Frost out of the ring. Goku and Bardock try to fight Jiren again at some point. They do a little bit better this time. Jiren's impressed to see that they're already growing during battle. But he defeats both of them again. And this time, two other people sub in for them. Vegeta jumps in first, but then so does Raditz. The two kind of bicker with each other trying to see who's going to fight first. And Jiren tells them it's pointless. They might as well fight together. And Vegeta chuckles. Really now? The two of them power up in the Blue Evolution. You know, it's been a while since he fought alongside Vegeta. It's kind of like old times, isn't it? Vegeta finds it kind of funny too. Yeah, they're just missing Nappa. Anyways, the two fight Jiren together, and they do pretty well. No better than Goku and Bardock did, but they at least buy them some time to recover a little more. Again, Jiren's still not at his full power, but he's more serious than he normally was. Bardock and Goku trying to formulate a plan. Universe 7's lost a few warriors so far. Goten, Trunks, and Guine have been eliminated. Piccolo and Gohan are fine right now, and Granola's doing his own thing. But the 4 Saiyans are all over here, and at this rate, they're all going to be eliminated. Bardock suggests Goku does that Spirit Bomb again. Do that thing he tried against Cell where he absorbed the power. Well, Goku's unsure if that'll work. That wasn't intentional, and he doesn't know how it'll work a second time. But maybe a Spirit Bomb could work, at least just a regular one. So, while Jiren's preoccupied with the other two, Goku starts charging energy. All his allies in the stands give energy to him, as well as everyone in the ring. Bardock gives a lot of his as well. And then at the last moment, Raditz gives some of his, and he forces Vegeta to reluctantly give his too. And Jiren notices the Spirit Bomb. Alright, sure. He welcomes that attack. Goku throws a Spirit Bomb, and Jiren has to show off a little more power, but he's able to push it back. At the last moment, Goku powers up in a blue Kaioken to push it back. And the Spirit Bomb's getting closer and closer to him. At this rate, he'll fall in, but he tries to do the same thing he did before. It was completely accidental last time, but maybe he can do it again, trying to absorb the Spirit Bomb into himself. And this time, it actually ends up working. The Spirit Bomb disappears. There's a brilliant flash of light, and now, Goku's surrounded by the aura of the Spirit Bomb, while still in Super Saiyan Blue. And just for good measure, he goes Kaioken again. He feels completely rejuvenated. His injuries are healed, all of his stamina's back, and he's also considerably stronger than before. Quickly, Jiren eliminates Vegeta and Raditz, and then rushes over to Goku. Beerus and Whis are watching in the stands. Whis hoped to see Ultra Instinct here, but this is interesting. He didn't know Goku could do something like this. And as Raditz and Vegeta fall out of the ring, they give the last of their energy to Goku. Looks like they're not going to need any of this. Bardock gives all of his as well. Goku and Jiren begin clashing. Goku could barely contain this. Thanks to the control of Super Saiyan Blue, it is a little bit easier than last time, but he's pushing himself to his absolute limits here, especially with Kaioken. But the good thing about this is it makes him more than powerful enough to actually face Jiren, and Jiren goes into his full power. Gohan, Piccolo, Bardock, and Granola are still in the ring, although Bardock can barely fight because he lost all his energy. In order to help a little more, Gohan and Piccolo lend theirs too. Since the Spirit Bomb still is active, they could still contribute energy, and Goku keeps growing stronger and stronger. Jiren's actually having a really tough time here, and at the very last moment, something weird happens with Goku. The final embers of the Spirit Bomb ignite something else within Goku. The aura of Kaioken completely vanishes around him, and his blue hair falls down, still flowing, but now black again. Goku lets out a powerful roar, and hits Jiren with a single punch. The punch is so strong, it shakes the world of Void, and Jiren can't defend against it. It sends him flying right through the ring, so fast that he can't respond in time. And Whis arches an eyebrow when he sees this. At that very last second, Goku activated Ultra Instinct Omen, attacking completely on instinct. But then all the power of the Spirit Bomb dissipates, and Goku falls through the same hole in the ring that he sent Jiren into, also getting eliminated. A few people remain in the ring, a barely conscious Bardock, Piccolo, Gohan, and Granola. And for the MVP, the person chosen is Granola. He actually has the most eliminations here, and faced with the Super Dragon Balls, he wonders what to wish for. A few months back, he would have wished for more power for himself. But he's not driven by revenge anymore, and he knows he can grow a lot stronger on his own. Not that he really needs it anyways, but it would be interesting to see how far he can go. But seeing how those around him act, and after spending that year with Goku, he's pushed into being a lot better. The only reason he joined this tournament in the first place was because he thought his universe would be destroyed. It was completely out of self-preservation, so he can kind of get how everyone else in this tournament felt. And because of that, he makes the right wish, wishing for every other universe to be restored.
So, without Frieza, there's not going to be Broly here, and the Granola arc obviously isn't happening here. But right in between those arcs is Moro, and that is going to happen. So, how does that begin? Moro escapes prison. Without a Majin Buu on Earth, Mayrish doesn't really have an idea of who to recruit, but he goes there just because he knows there's a bunch of strong warriors there in the first place. And this is where he comes across 4 of the strongest warriors: Goku, Bardock, Vegeta, and Raditz. He'll have them help out against Moro. That's probably going to be the best option here. The 4 of them head to Namek, and thanks to Goku being there, they're able to teleport to the planet, meeting Moro just as he arrives. Although the 4 of them being there probably isn't the best thing, because sure, they are pretty powerful, but that also leaves 4 people for Moro to take energy from. They'd probably be fighting one-on-one, and while Moro fights one of them, he starts absorbing energy from all of them. None of them goes for the kill right away, and because of that, Moro gets pretty strong pretty quick. He's able to get his wishes. They heal up and they're able to confront him again, but Moro is already too powerful for them. Plus, without Majin Buu here, there's not really much they could do. Mayrish does briefly fend him off, but at some point, especially with all the prisoners coming to the planet, they end up having to leave. Moro completely absorbs all the energy on Namek, destroying the planet. So now what are they supposed to do? He might be too strong for them, especially with him being able to absorb energy. They're going to need to work around it. So everyone figures out their own training methods. Vegeta decides to go into Yardrat. That's where Kakarot went, and there's probably some weird techniques he could learn there. Raditz goes for the simplest option. he decides he's going back to Beerus' planet, and instead of training under Whis, this time he's going to see if there's anything Beerus could teach him. His whole thing is destruction, so what if the way to counter that energy absorption is through that power? He's not sure if it'll work, and he's not sure if he could even pull it off, but it's worth a shot. Meanwhile, Goku decides to train under Beerus, and Bardock's not really too sure where he's going to go. The type of training Goku's trying to do is probably not going to fit what he has in mind. He noticed that Beerus is moving on his own, and it seems similar to what Whis was trying to teach them. In Bardock's mind, he thinks that just having enough raw power to fight Moro will be enough to stop him. As long as they hit him with one strong attack right off the bat, and give him no time to grow stronger, they could just destroy him as is. So he decides to train under Beerus too, but he's doing this because he wants to grow stronger physically. He doesn't know if what Kakarot's trying to do is going to even work. But either way, it will be nice to have someone different teaching him. Plus, they'll be going in a time chamber, so he'll get extra time training here. Let's go over to Earth. The prisoners eventually arrive there, and first they fight Piccolo. But Gohan then jumps in. They're able to actually destroy 7-3 right away, and as for the other prisoners, they're defeated, but without 7-3 to help them out, they can't really escape. So Jocko actually just captures them. Moro, of course, is monitoring what's happening on Earth, and he just communicates with everyone over there. He'll be there in about 2 months' time. That way they'll grow stronger, and then by the time he comes there, he'll have a better snack. His crew is going around a bunch of other different planets too. On most planets they're not having trouble, but on one of them they do encounter some issues. They go to planet Cereal, and the population there seems pretty weak, except for one fighter, the only Cerealian there actually. He defeats all the prisoners of these. So they retreat, and Moro seems pretty interested in that planet as well. That'll go on his list later. 2 months pass with everyone doing their training. On Earth, the prisoners arrive again. And Earth has a pretty good crew already. It's pretty much the same people that were defending it like normal, with the addition of one other person, Granola. He got in contact with the people on Earth, and he learned that this was happening pretty much over the entire universe. And since they were all going to come to Earth next, and leave Cereal alone for now, he actually came here to train a bit more. Although he was a bit surprised to see that some of the Saiyans were gone, particularly Goku, Bardock, Raditz, and Vegeta. But he joins the fight here. At first the fight's going pretty well until Moro starts to lend energy to some of them. Then things start getting out of hand. But before the fight gets too intense, someone arrives to save the day first. A large pillar of light appears and 3 people are there. Beerus, Whis, and Raditz. Raditz looks around. His brother, father, and Vegeta aren't here yet. Interesting. Looks like he's the first of the 4 to get here. He made great timing. Moro is a bit concerned seeing Beerus there. He could try and steal energy from him or Whis, but he knows that's not going to work out. But what about the Saiyan? Why was he with them? Raditz is going to try and fight smart this time. He knows about Moro's power, and he doesn't really want to risk anything. His goal is to kill Moro as fast as possible. But just in case he can't do it really quick, he does have a good counter against him. He powers up to his maximum, first using Blue Evolution. Moro thinks he's an idiot. Right now, Raditz doesn't have the strength to defeat him, and even if he did, it would be pretty risky using that. So he tries to steal some of Raditz's energy, but when he does, he notices he can't absorb it. Well, he can absorb it, but when he does, it harms him. And Raditz smirks. He fell right into his trap. Raditz then powers up once more. This time his hair flickers purple. He spent the last 2 months reworking himself from the ground up. He wasn't training under Whis. He trained under Beerus. The Saiyans used to pride themselves on destruction, and now he's using that again. Raditz shows off Ultra Ego for the first time. As the fight continues and Raditz gets more and more into it, he grows stronger and stronger. And Moro can't absorb his energy. It's that same destructive power Beerus uses. With no options left, Moro tries to absorb energy from all the people around him, but before he does, Raditz lands a powerful Hakai on him. As he lifts his arm up to collect the energy, it's then erased. And then Raditz stuns him with a powerful attack to the back of the neck. And he wastes no time. He then sticks his hand out once more, charging all of his energy into one Hakai. Just as this happens, Goku and Bardock then teleport in. And the first thing they see is a powerful purple explosion, and as the dust settles, they see Raditz standing there in the middle of a crater, with no remains of Moro. He's victorious, having completely erased him. Crap, they were like 3 minutes late here. It's kind of a shame too, because they feel like their training really paid off, especially for Goku. They learn of what happened and get to see Raditz's power firsthand. But then, somebody else teleports in. Hours later, trying to locate some sort of energy on Earth, Vegeta was able to teleport here, pulling off engine transmission one time. He's been trying to locate them for so long, he didn't realize the fight was already over. Bardock says if it makes him feel any better, they're kind of in the same boat. And this all goes to Raditz's head too. He's elated. He finally got a solo victory. After all this time as pretty much number 4 in the group, he came out on top for once. And right now with Ultra Ego, he feels like he might be able to become the strongest. He learns what the others have learned too. Vegeta of course got spirit control, and that did make him a lot stronger, but it's not like he unlocked any sort of other special powers. He got Spirit Fission, which was geared towards Moro, but it's not something he could really use a lot in combat, or something he would use a lot in combat. Bardock didn't get any new forms or techniques, but he did get a lot stronger under Beerus. Goku, on the other hand, did actually tap into Ultra Instinct. He shows it off. He could use it willingly, but it's just the Omen level for now, so it's not really too refined. Same goes for Raditz's Ultra Ego. but he's at least farther along with that. And the most natural next thing for them is to test out this power against each other. They all go to Beerus' planet once more, and Bardock sees Granola there, so he drags him along. Gine comes too because she wants to see how her sons have grown. Everyone else stays back though. It's just the Saiyans plus Granola, who actually is a little bit curious because these could have been the people he was fighting against. Had he gone down that other path, he wonders what he would have to fight. The battle between Goku and Raditz begins. At first, Raditz is losing because he doesn't really know what to expect with Ultra Instinct. Goku doesn't really know what to expect with Raditz's form either, but it's tougher on Raditz's end. Although they come to see that there is a power gap at the moment. It's not huge, but enough for Raditz to make a difference with it. And as the fight continues, Raditz keeps on growing. Of course, Goku's adapting to the fight as well. And it's hard for Raditz to land hits on him, and it's not like he could really use his full power, because if he uses destructive energy, he'd be erasing Kakarot, which he doesn't want to do, obviously. But the raw power of the form is still growing, and at some point, he grows strong enough and fast enough to actually outpace Goku. It's a tough-fought battle, but after losing at the beginning, Raditz then claims victory over his brother, only inflating his head even more. When he first came to Earth, he didn't think Kakarot would pull off something like that, nor did he think he would pull off something like this, but it's good to finally have a one-on-one rematch with their full power. It feels like it's been a long time, even though they have sparred a bunch between those two fights. Vegeta is a bit angry that he went to Yardrat, and it's not like it was a waste because he grew a lot stronger, but he's mainly mad that he just missed out on the entire fight. Maybe he should go all in with that spirit control thing though, because he did consider trying to train under Beerus like Raditz did, but he kinda needs to branch out himself now. Who knows what he can learn if he goes back to Yardrat and refines spirit control even further. Granola's just watching on kinda dumbfounded because he's not into fighting as much as them, and he only really joined this battle because it was pretty necessary. But it makes him wonder what he's capable of down the line. It was pretty interesting to watch. We fast forward a bit, and eventually we get to Superhero. Red Pharmaceuticals is able to find out about Jiro's work, and they get started on Cell Max. Although this time they are up against pretty tough opponents. Piccolo may not be where he was normally, but the issue is Gohan. A lot of Superhero would probably start normal with Piccolo doing the same things here. He might even try to make the same wish to become stronger, but with Kami as Guardian, I don't know how that wish is going to work. I feel he'd still be able to upgrade the Dragon Balls. They even do consider fusing here, but it might be a little bit too risky because who knows if they'll need the Dragon Balls soon. But Gohan with Super Saiyan 4 is able to defeat the Gammas. But then Cell Max awakens, and Gohan fights him head on. He also has some extra allies here. Of course, Goten and Trunks are here, but Gine's also joining the fight too. And of all the people here fighting, she is one of the strongest because after all that time around Bardock, I feel like there's more than enough ways for her to pick up on Godly Ki. She actually has Super Saiyan God. Of course, whenever Bardock's home, he spends all his time with her. I feel like prolonged time around him would get her Godly Ki. So they're at the forefront of the Cell Max fight, and they're actually able to do pretty well against him. The crew is faring better than they did in the actual story. By the way, Pan's obviously involved in the story too, and Gine's actually started training her a bit. Although, as the fight continues, they start losing ground. But knowing about the weak spot, Gohan has an idea. With how many people are here, they're able to hold off Cell Max long enough for Gohan to charge energy. He jumps back, charging an attack, and piercing it right through his head. Even with his strength in Super Saiyan 4, he's definitely not on the level of Beast Gohan, but given his extra training and such, I feel like it would still be enough to actually kill Cell Max here. Although it does require him to get a Senzu Bean and use 100% of his power, plus attacking Cell Max's weak spot, of course. And just like that, Cell Max is defeated, and it leads to the end of Superhero. Plus, thanks to the addition of Gine here, the crew is larger and stronger, and Gamma 2 didn't resort to sacrificing himself right away, so he actually ended up surviving here. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Another world tournament is on the horizon. Gine sits this one out. She's more interested on how one of her students is doing, that being Pan. Goten and Trunks are in this tournament too. But given the competition, she's not too sure how far they're going to make it. Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz all join obviously. And there's even another person here too. They invite Granola to join, so he traveled to Earth hearing that this is some sort of big festivity here. The roster makes for a pretty entertaining tournament. Bardock is now the weakest of the 4 Saiyans because he's falling a little bit behind, but he still gets to have an enjoyable battle, defeated by Goku. Goku does get a little bit unlucky though because he has to fight Bardock, and then he also has to fight Vegeta. Not that it wears him out a ton, but everyone agreed to not transform during this tournament. So he's defeated by Vegeta. Raditz actually ends up fighting Granola at one point, and despite Raditz being physically stronger just in his base alone, Granola does particularly well thanks to his vision and being able to attack Raditz's vital points. Raditz almost ends up losing this match, but he defeats Granola, and the final fight is Vegeta versus Raditz. And this fight lasts for hours. It's pretty awesome at first, a great spectacle for everyone watching, but slowly they get a little bit bored of it because how are these two fighting for this long? Beerus and Whis are also here at the tournament too. I'd assume there's a lot of good food stands here and they're definitely checking those out, but they're also watching the fights of everyone here. And Beerus ends up even falling asleep during the match. At the end, Vegeta is able to win. Finally, he's the top Saiyan again. And then he collapses. Bardock and Gine watch on from the stands. It makes Bardock reminisce a bit. He's gonna miss being able to fight like that. even with the time he has left, he knows it's not going to be the same these next few years. But Gine tells him to think of it like this. Imagine if Kakarot hadn't fallen off Snake Way and met him. They would have never had all these extra years here.
What's crazier to him is how strong everybody's grown so far, including himself and Gine. It's almost like they're too strong for all their opponents now.
But who knows? Maybe some fun challenges still lie ahead for him. And with that, we'll end our story off here. What'd you guys think about this scenario? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel and shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.